One Piece Supreme Control, Chapter 701-720. Chapter 701-appropriate. Poof. Blonde hair, eyebrows, pale green eyes, and lightning bolts all around him. The state of the Super Saiyan is directly reflected in Vegeta. Vegeta, who was extremely angry, at this moment, really transformed into a Super Saiyan. Yang Qing also noticed the other party's state, and couldn't help showing a smile on his face. Very good, you succeeded. Vegeta's face was cold and she felt her power at the moment, but she felt that she had never been stronger than she is now. Blonde hair, eyebrows, and pale green pupils gave him the ruthlessness of a predator. What's more terrifying is his emotions. He couldn't feel any other emotions except the desire to fight. The desire, thirst, and desire of the heart to destroy are extremely powerful at this moment. The powerful force brought him the urge to destroy the world. I want to fight you. Vegeta didn't even call the Chief Elder because of the big change in his temperament that he had just turned into a Saiyan. Yang Qing also understood, his eyes flashed, and a smile appeared on his face. Come on, so that you know your own inadequacies. Vegeta let out a loud roar, and her figure disappeared immediately. Its speed was 10 times faster than before, almost like lightning, and appeared directly in front of Yang Qing. However, when he threw a punch, what greeted him was an unattainable, insurmountable sense of distance like a mountain and a peak. Crack! A hand grabbed his wrist firmly and directly, making him unable to move at all. Vegeta's heart did not fluctuate, and the other fist was clenched and swung out again. However, as the previous scene happened again, Yang Qing's other hand directly grabbed him tightly. Hee hee. The smile on the other side's face suddenly appeared, giving Vegeta a hint of danger. However, it's too late. Bang! He didn't see exactly how the opponent made the move, he only felt that he had been hit hard on the stomach. After that, the strength of his entire body was almost dissipated, and the golden light and powerful aura on his body had all disappeared. With just one punch, all of his strength was wiped clean. Ah! Holding his stomach, Vegeta took a few steps back with a painful face, and then fell softly to the ground. When Vegeta returned to his original state, all the previous emotions returned to him, and he looked at Yang Qing with a look of shock and fear. Such power is simply invincible. While realizing that you are strong, you must also deeply understand that you are far from being strong enough. Slightly meaningful words came out of Yang Qing's mouth, and immediately after Vegeta's blurred vision, the familiar figure slowly disappeared. Yang Qing's punch was not heavy, it only temporarily lost Vegeta's strength. After 10 minutes, he will naturally wake up. He got up and flew towards the place where the Great Elder of Namek was. Yang Qing had never forgotten the promise of this old man. After all, when he was weak, the other party really helped him a lot. Such kindness cannot be forgotten at all. In just a short while, Yang Qing arrived at the place where the Great Elder was. Just appearing in the room just now, the Great Elder, who was resting with his eyes closed, immediately trembled, and then opened his eyes. Qing, is that you? The Elder said with some excitement. It's me, Yang Qing nodded. After so many years, you don't even feel old at all. On the other hand, I'm on the verge of death, and I will die soon. Elder Namek exclaimed. Yang Qing is still in her 20s at this moment. After becoming a god, she has a long life expectancy, and it is basically impossible to die if there are no accidents. When a person dies, he just goes to another world. Life and death are nothing but the cycle of all things. Smiling lightly, Yang Qing said softly. Hearing Yang Qing say this, the Great Elder's eyes lit up. I see, haha. Inexplicably, the first elder became happy, and then he asked again in a vague way. I feel your breath is a little different, don't you already? Yes, I have become a god. Without hiding anything, Yang Qing nodded directly. The Great Elder's face showed a hint of shock, and then he laughed again. It seems that after I die, we can still see each other. Yang Qing's eyes flashed, and he understood why the elder said so. Don't worry, the elders, with my ability, let you keep your original body and continue to survive, but it's just a trivial matter. The first elder said that he wanted to be alternate, nothing more than want Yang Qing to help him restore his original body, and then exist in the heaven. It is indeed a trivial matter for Yang Qing to prepare the identity of the realm king. The gods in the sky, who can't give Yang Qing a face? Haha, then thank you so much. Qing, the elder was completely relaxed. A person has already arranged the problems after death, so there is nothing to worry about. Naturally he is very calm. So, are you here to help us Namek survive this catastrophe? After a little silence, the elder asked seriously again. This chapter is not over, click on the next page to continue reading. It's not me who saves Namek, but please rest assured, this time Namek will definitely survive this catastrophe. Yang Qing said with certainty. Slightly startled, the elder nodded. From his understanding, perhaps after Yang Qing became a god, he had many scruples and was not suitable to take action. In fact, Yang Qing completely ignored Frieza and regarded it as a training for Sun Wukong and Vegeta. After that, Yang Qing left this place. With a twist, he returned to Earth. The start of the Frieza War indicates that this era will undergo great changes, and relatives on Earth must be properly arranged. The appearance of Yang Qing made Yi Qi, Saya and others naturally excited again. Qing, you're not here, so I don't know, there was a terrible battle a few days ago. A Saiyan came to Earth, and the aftermath of their battle shook the whole Earth. I almost thought the Earth was going to be destroyed. But it scared the baby to death. Yi Qi's words made Yang Qing shake his head and laugh. That Saiyan is naturally Vegeta, and the other one who opposes it is undoubtedly Sun Wukong. Speaking of which, Sun Wukong at the moment should still be on his way to Namek. Thinking of this, Yang Qing's eyes flashed. In the original book, the beginning of the sudden increase in Sun Wukong's strength was also this battle. Chapter 702 What about Kakarot? Sun Wukong, who has been growing gradually on the earth, when he came to the universe, it was as if the power of the wild in his body was opened, and on the basis of accumulation, he burst out with unparalleled potential. This potential propels him, constantly pushing towards higher ground. In the vast universe, an aircraft is moving fast. In the cabin of the aircraft, the lights were dimly lit, and a man with a naked upper body, covered in sweat, let out a slight sigh, and his figure kept moving, punching, kicking, push-ups, standing up and squatting, crunches, any high-pressure body training that can cause a splendor to the body, he has done it again and again. Hoo-hoo. Breathing slightly, sweat dripped from his body to the ground, making a crisp sound. He is well proportioned, with 8 strong abdominal muscles, strong and evenly distributed in his arms, legs, and legs. His every move showed an extremely harmonious state, as if just throwing a fist, it would make people feel that the fist should be thrown out and retracted like him. After countless trials, Sun Wukong's physical combat power has grown to an unimaginable level. As the journey to Namek is getting closer and closer, Sun Wukong's combat power shows an explosive growth. The aircraft pierced the vacuum of the universe and moved forward in the direction of Namek. During this period, Sun Wukong's cultivation never stopped. Vegeta's strength and Frieza's pressure made him excited but nervous. Under such pressure, it also gave him great motivation to fight. Namekian, after Vegeta woke up from a coma, he found that the elder had left here. After a slight stunned moment, his eyes glowed with gratitude. He naturally knew that the elder deliberately said those words before, just to provoke him. The purpose was to arouse the anger of the Saiyan in his heart and turn him into a Super Saiyan. When he woke up at this time, Vegeta naturally realized that he had succeeded. He has successfully transformed into the legendary Super Saiyan, his strength has really grown substantially, and he is finally able to face the mighty Frieza. Slowly standing up, Vegeta's eyes showed a confident and fierce light. Super Saiyan, this is a powerful force, he must try his best to master it. First of all, what he has to do is to experiment. The sudden power makes him like a dream, and he needs to know whether the dream is real. Taking a deep breath, Vegeta glared abruptly, wrapping her fists around her waist. Aha! With a loud roar, the momentum on his body expanded violently, and the violent airflow caused the surrounding dust to rise, and even more dust gathered into a cyclone and swirled around him towards the sky. His breath has been expanding, and golden lightning currents began to appear, but until the end, the Super Saiyan mode still did not appear, which made Vegeta's face darken. Not yet stable. In an instant, Vegeta understood the reason for this state. He didn't fully grasp the power of Super Saiyan, it was just a transformation in anger. It can only be said that he has just stepped into this field, it is only 1 foot away. Still need to keep practicing. Closing her eyes, Vegeta began to recall the scene of the battle with the Great Elder. Before I knew it, half an hour passed. The breeze hung gently, and the area he was in was a plain, sparsely populated, and did not bother him. Suddenly, Vegeta opened her eyes. That's how it feels. Boom. The next second, the violent airflow rushed into the sky again, and golden lightning began to wrap around Vegeta's body, and his chi also changed, turning golden. At this moment, Vegeta seemed to have become a small one. The sun is like the sun, and the whole body is shining with bright gold, and the eyes of those who are stabbed can't be opened. Poof. Finally, his hair stood up and turned golden, his eyebrows also became golden, and his pupils turned pale green. Transforming into Super Saiyan mode again, Vegeta has a different feeling. The desire for destruction have been reduced a lot. However, my mind is much clearer than before. This is the calmest state. Is it a Super Saiyan? It is indeed the strongest warrior of my Saiyan. He clenched his fists violently, and the violent force directly shattered the air, making an explosive sound. Vegeta felt her own power, and a confident smile appeared on the corner of her mouth again. However, after more than 10 breaths, the golden Super Saiyan went out with a poof, and returned to its original state again. It's still unstable, I need a period of familiarity and control. After thinking for a while, Vegeta's face had a hint of pride and pride. During this time, there will be very little confidence from Prince Vegeta, who is very sure that he can master this new power in a very short time. Flying up, Vegeta decided to find a secluded place and start practicing. As long as it didn't take long, he would be able to get acquainted with the Super Saiyan, and then. Eyes narrowed, Vegeta's smile this time was a little cold. Challenge Frieza again. Yes, Saiyans will never give in. He has transformed into a Super Saiyan and will no longer be afraid of Frieza. Flying fast in the air, Vegeta suddenly froze. He felt a familiar aura, and then turned his head to the west position, and his eyes quickly appeared. This chapter is not over. Click on the next page to continue reading. A small point. That bald boy, and Kakarot's son. With a playful look in his eyes, Vegeta changed direction and slammed towards the two of Krillin. Buzz. The air trembled because of his high-speed flight, and in the next second, his body was already floating above Krillin and Son Gohan. Yes, it's you. Seeing Vegeta, Krillin was visibly frightened. How ferocious this guy on Earth is. He can see clearly, even Wukong is not his opponent. It's really bad luck to meet this guy here at this time. I'm in a good mood today, and I won't shoot at you two weak chickens. Vegeta spoke with a sneer. Where's Kakarot? Being defeated by a lower-level warrior has always been a thorn in Vegeta's heart, so his first thought after improving his strength was to defeat this opponent and prove his strength. For this purpose, even Frieza can be temporarily put aside. Chapter 703 Feel the Power of a Saiyan. Under the tension, Klein did not speak, but Sun Wukong shouted loudly. Dad is coming to Namek soon. Don't be arrogant, you bad guy. Oh, Kakarot isn't with you. Vegeta, however, noticed the meaning of Son Gohan's mouth, and couldn't help but laugh. Krillin immediately covered Sun Wukong's mouth, sweating profusely. Oops, since he knew that Wukong was not here, wouldn't it be possible for us to take action at any time? Haha, since I'm not with you, I'm too lazy to take care of you two reptiles. Be careful, don't be beaten into scum by Frieza's men. Leaving a sarcastic sentence, Vegeta turned around and left. This guy, he really didn't take action against us. Looking at Vegeta's back, Krillin was a little surprised. Uncle Kling, he seems to be a little different from before. Son Gohan said hesitantly. Different. Krilin was stunned for a moment, and then he thought about it. He also felt that seeing each other again, there was indeed something different from before. After Vegeta left, he found a mountain and valley and began to practice Super Saiyan. His talent is outstanding, and he has the purest blood of Saiyans, but his foundation is no better than that of Sun Wukong, and his cultivation method is also monotonous and boring, so his progress is slow. But compared to others, it is surprisingly fast. In the blink of an eye, time passed. On this day, Vegeta let out a loud roar, and a golden light erupted from his whole body. The golden light was extremely dazzling, and along with the golden light, the aura on his body was also constantly strong, as if it were endless. Gradually, the two mountains began to rumble, and finally there was an explosion, which was directly blown into dust by the powerful breath that erupted from his body. This vast aura, as dazzling as the sun's rays, made the space within a radius of 3 kilometers tremble. Finally, got it. A low voice came from the dust, and then, footsteps sounded, and Vegeta strode out. His hair returned to black, and it was in its original form at the moment. With a contemptuous smile on his face, Vegeta, who has mastered the state of Super Saiyan, is bursting with confidence at this moment. It's time to learn Frieza. Flying up, Vegeta turned into a ray of light and disappeared here instantly. 3 minutes later, Vegeta's eyes were startled, and she suddenly raised her head to look at the distant horizon. There, the sky was gray, and the clouds were dense. In the depths of the clouds, there were golden snake-like thunder and lightning shuttling and meandering. What was even more terrifying was that the two groups of powerful auras were constantly colliding, and the aftermath of their collision erupted with layers of ripples, spreading in all directions, turning into a gust of wind, making the rivers boil, the sea roaring, and setting off huge waves. That's Frieza. In an instant, Vegeta's pupils shrank, and she recognized that the powerful evil aura was Frieza. He is so powerful. At this moment, Frieza was far stronger than his mind, and the strength detected by the intelligence shocked Vegeta. Who is the other person who fought Frieza like this? He was amazed, his heart was full of curiosity, the breath all over his body swelled, and he again accelerated towards the direction of the battle between the two. As the distance got closer, the figure in front became clearer and clearer. In addition to Frieza, another figure surrounded by red flames, well-proportioned and strong, kept attacking Frieza. Kakarot. A figure that completely exceeded Vegeta's expectations appeared in his eyes, and Vegeta felt incredible the moment the red figure appeared on his face. He's so powerful. He originally thought that he would become a Super Saiyan when he fell in love with the bookstore. He should have left Sun Wukong far behind his ass and buttocks. The kid who defeated him originally was nothing at all. However, after seeing Sun Wukong again at this moment, Vegeta's heart trembled. This kid won't transform into a Super Saiyan yet. Vegeta clearly discerned that under normal conditions, the opponent had far surpassed him. This made his heart not know what to feel, but felt extremely complicated. Gritting her teeth, Vegeta's eyes narrowed. Kakarot, Frieza is my opponent, the Prince of the Saiyans, it's me. With a sudden burst of air, Vegeta accelerated again and charged towards the sky over there. 10 minutes later, Vegeta came to Sora where the two were fighting. This is a lake area surrounded by mountains, and the battle between Frieza and Sun Wukong is right above the lake at this moment. Ha! A fierce collision caused the lake under their feet to vibrate, followed by the depression of the lake water, and then it swelled up violently, splashing the entire sky with water droplets. I really don't care about it. As soon as Vegeta came here, he saw that the two of them clearly noticed him, but they didn't care at all. They were still fighting, their eyes trembled, and their hearts became angry. "All right, let you see my new power. Frieza, Kakarot, you both are going to die." With a loud roar, golden rays of light burst out, illuminating the entire sky. Vegeta's breath instantly became dozens of times stronger. This chapter is not over. Click on the next page to continue reading. Colored hair, eyebrows, pale green pupils. At this moment, let him show a terrible majesty. A terrifying aura was rippling around, and this powerful aura really made Sun Wukong and Frieza stop the battle in an instant and quickly retreated. Vegeta. Both of them looked at Vegeta in amazement, completely unaware that the other party had not seen each other for a while, and that there would be such a powerful force. Especially Frieza. Sun Wukong doesn't know Vegeta's state at the moment, but he is very clear. The same state as King Vegeta at that time. Frieza's pupils contracted, staring at Vegeta. Super Saiyan. "Frieza, Kakarot, you are so arrogant," Vegeta said coldly to the two of them. He first aimed at Monkey King. "Kakarot, I'll take care of you later. Now, Frieza, die." With a loud roar, Vegeta looked at Frieza, her entire body suddenly accelerated, her face frantic and hideous. In just an instant, he appeared in front of Frieza and punched. Bang! The extremely fast speed and enormous strength made Frieza fly out immediately. "Feel the power of the Saiyans, Chop. I'm going to kill you." "That's it, Super Saiyan." Chapter 705 It's the same. Another voice stood in the void, stared at the field for a moment, and nodded slightly. "It's the beginning." These two people, one wearing a Saiyan-specific combat uniform, and the other wearing a strange black costume, it is Saya and Yangqing. Vegeta is not Frieza's opponent. The protagonist of this battle is Sun Wukong in the end. After sweeping the scene, Yangqing was sure. This kid has turned into a Super Saiyan, but he's still not Frieza's opponent. Sai was a little surprised. For Frieza, Saiyan people know that he is very powerful, but what kind of power he is not clear. For Frieza's strength, they are all general. This is the first step for Sun Wukong to become stronger, and it is also the decisive battle for the Saiyans to restore their former glory. With memories in his eyes, Yangqing said with emotion. In this battle, he can't participate in the battle, although he can kill Frieza with one finger, but no matter what, he can't take it lightly. In the field, the boiling water droplets finally erupted, and all the Qigong waves that Vegeta swung down exploded at this moment. The sky above the lake completely became a white mist, and the mist filled thousands of meters, covering their figures. In such a fairyland-like scene, the lake boiled violently. Buzzing. The lake water was shaking violently, boiling, and countless bubbles evaporated, and the entire lake seemed to be evaporated by the high temperature at this moment. Vegeta, who was standing in the sky, suddenly changed his face and looked at the bottom of the lake. He felt a powerful force awakening. "I don't want to waste time, you wild monkeys have completely angered me." Frieza's icy voice came from below, and this gloomy tone made the temperature seem to be a few degrees colder. Wow! All the lake water suddenly rolled back upwards, rising towards the sky, and instantly turned into strips of water, roaring and swept up, and large swaths of water droplets boiled. A powerful breath surged out from Frieza's body. His power made space bow his head at this moment, and his terrifying aura made Vegeta and Sun Wukong's faces change in an instant. His anger is growing at a very terrifying rate. Sun Wukong said solemnly. Even more frightening is that Frieza's shape is also changing. He is shrinking, his body has become smooth and streamlined. The strong wind was blowing, and the wind was getting stronger and stronger. Kaylin and others couldn't even stand on the ground, and they were blown up. A powerful shock wave suddenly rushed out of Frieza's body, spreading in all directions, and a large rumbling sound came out. The lake water was blown directly to the sky, hanging upside down to the horizon, and in the blink of an eye, I didn't know where it went. Buzz! This shock wave slammed mightily, flying towards all directions, and a large area of the ground was scraped away, revealing the position of the third layer of the three-color soil layer. The earth seemed to be torn open directly, revealing its surface. This kind of aura grew, and the shock wave spread for nearly 20 breaths before calming down. At this time, Frieza and Sun Wukong just looked down solemnly. There, a short figure was standing there quietly. His cold eyes and emotionless eyes all indicated that it was Frieza who transformed into the third stage. At this time, after experiencing the energy shock of the transformation process, Frieza seemed extremely calm, but under this calm, there was a monstrous terror. Wild monkey, why is there no sound? The indifferent eyes looked directly at Vegeta, who was in shock in the sky, and Frieza's eyes were killing intent. Vegeta's eyes narrowed, and a flash of anger flashed. Frieza! He called out, but didn't act rashly. Any fool can see that Frieza's state is not right at the moment. Don't you dare to do it. There was a hint of mockery on the corner of his mouth. Frieza stared at Vegeta, his cold eyes made Vegeta tremble immediately. Then I'm here. As soon as the voice fell, Frieza's figure distorted and disappeared. Huh! In Vegeta's shocked pupils, a figure appeared in an instant and punched him. Boom! With just one punch, it hit Vegeta directly, knocking it down. Vegeta hit the ground, and the ground was shaking with terrifying power, and he himself was a little stunned by the punch. Shaking his head and standing up slowly, Vegeta actually found that the aura around him seemed to be scattered a little. This guy. He finally realized clearly that Frieza was far more powerful than himself. Buzz. The air suddenly trembled. Vegeta raised her head suddenly, and immediately saw Frieza's grim face. You. Vegeta was startled and did not speak. The weak wild monkey, has the arrogance and arrogance passed? Frieza sneered and slapped. Crack. Vegeta was taken a few steps back, and before he could react, Frieza's heavy punch hit him in the stomach again, making his face change, showing a painful color. This chapter is not over. Click on the next page to continue reading. Bend down. But Frieza's attack wasn't over yet, followed by another savage elbow strike at his back. With a bang, the rocks under his feet were shattered, and Vegeta was hit directly on the ground. The golden color on his head disappeared instantly, returning to white. His cheeks were pale, and he became extremely weak, and there was blood flowing from the corners of his mouth. Weak, but ignorant, ignorant. Welcome to your death. This time, no one will save you. Frieza's icy voice resounded above Vegeta's head, causing her complexion to tremble and her heart to tremble with fear. As he said, this time, no one will save him again. He was about to take a few steps forward and smash Vegeta's head with one foot, but at this moment, a screeching sound sounded, followed by the expanding energy wave bombarding his back. Turtle School Qigong Wave. The sound was very loud, and it was Sun Wukong who made it. It was this Qigong wave that interrupted Frieza's ongoing movements, making his face look colder. There is always someone looking for death, no matter what. It's just two wild monkeys. Whoever dies first, who dies later. It's all the same. Then, he slowly turned around. At this moment, the two figures face each other. Frieza's face was cold, and the corners of his mouth were contemptuous. Sun Wukong looked serious, and was posing as if he was sending out a turtle-style Qigong wave. Chapter 706-I am angry. Sun Wukong's strong shot made Frieza's eyes move directly from Vegeta's body to his surroundings. With his hands forward, Sun Wukong's face was solemn, and he could feel the powerful momentum of the enemy from far away. This is the terror beyond the imposing manner just now. The pressure from the other party makes his forehead full of sweat. But somehow, in his heart, the burning fighting spirit did not go out, instead it burned even higher. So strong. This kind of pressure actually made me feel excited. I really want to fight him. It has to be said that some people are born warriors. In the face of a strong enemy, they never back down. Instead, they can make their hearts full of fighting spirit, thus bursting out even more powerful forces. There is no doubt that Sun Wukong is such a person. His heart is trembling and shaking at the moment. Under this tension, pressure, and excitement, his whole body is shaking slightly. In the next moment, Frieza's figure suddenly rushed into the sky, and the terrifying speed directly caused a sonic boom, like a muffled thunder. In an instant, Frieza's body appeared in front of Sun Wukong. Die, wild monkey! As soon as Frieza appeared, he grinned and punched. So strong. Only when he faced it in person did Sun Wukong realize the pressure Vegeta faced just now. His body was stiff for a moment, which was caused by the opponent's powerful momentum. But in just a moment, it returned to its previous appearance. Like this. Fight! Suddenly, Sun Wukong's face became extremely ferocious, and a scorching red air column suddenly rushed out of his body. With a boom, everything in his body seemed to be on fire, heading towards the sky. Jia Wong Fist, 30 times. With a loud roar, the crimson flames around Sun Wukong's body were as high as 30 meters, and the surging arrogance made his breath greatly increase in an instant. This scene shook the face of Frieza, who was full of confidence. How is that possible? It strengthened so much in an instant. Bang! The fists of the two collided fiercely, causing a large space to distort, and invisible ripples paused, and then spread out. The place where the ripples swept, formed a strong wind and roared out. There was a large shock wave impact, the infinite airflow was shaking, and a large piece of dust was rolled up. Kaylin and the others, who were watching the battle from a distance of 1,000 meters, shouted loudly and were rolled into the sky in an instant, and they used chi to control their figure before they stabilized. A fist collided, and the eyes of the two were staring at each other fiercely. Look how much power you have. Frieza punched again, 2 punches like a chain of guns, constantly attacking Sun Wukong. His attack is fierce, and every punch is full force, forming a gust of wind, lightning and thunder. Sun Wukong was sweating profusely, and the red flames were burning, giving him a steady stream of strength, and collided with Frieza again and again. However, Jia Wong Fist is only a means of exploding chi. His physical strength is doubled. The higher the Jia Wong Fist, the more serious the consumption of his body. After a short period of 10 breaths, Sun Wukong already felt exhausted. He had already fought against Frieza before, and at this time, he once again forced the potential in his body to reach its limit. It's getting to the limit. Gritting his teeth, Sun Wukong desperately followed Frieza's attack and kept retreating. The figures of the two were moving fast in the sky, but it could also be clearly seen that Sun Wukong was at a disadvantage. That kid can't do it anymore, he can't hold on for long by forcing his potential. Saya stared at Sun Wukong and shook his head. In this state, he really can't hold it anymore. Will it explode next? Yang Qing nodded, thinking about it. At this point in the plot, there has been a slight change. Vegeta's birth has interrupted the original battle. At this time, whether Sun Wukong can break out and transform into a Super Saiyan, even he does not know. Wow! Finally, the arrogance of Sun Wukong all over the field suddenly extinguished, his face became pale, and then, Frieza punched his face hard, and directly knocked him to the ground. I said, it's all the same, you're done, wild monkey. Only 3 minutes of blood, can't it be done now? Seeing Sun Wukong struggling to get up on the ground, Frieza sneered and sneered. He turned his gaze to Vegeta again, seeing that she was also lying on the ground at the moment. It was very difficult, and he couldn't help but smile again. This feeling of being stronger than everyone makes him very proud, and disdainful. No fun. He spit out 2 words coldly, his eyes flashed, and he saw the 2 Keelan who were trying to act in vain. It's interesting to have 2 little mice. Slowly raising his finger, Frieza pointed to Krillin. At this moment, Sun Wukong struggled to see this scene, his heart immediately trembled, and a great panic filled his heart. No. He was very aware of the consequences of Keelan being attacked by this blow, and his heart was terrified and worried. However, Frieza obviously didn't care about his mood. The red light from his right hand bloomed, and the sound of boom penetrated directly through his X. This chapter is not over. Click on the next page to continue reading. Iong mouth. Ah. Until now, Kaylin still hadn't noticed what he looked like. He only felt a pain in his body, and his vitality was rapidly draining. Uncle Krillin. Sun Wukong screamed in horror and sadness. Kaylin, who was standing, quickly dissipated the light from his eyes, and his body fell softly. And Sun Wukong, who was lying on the ground and saw this scene with his own eyes, was completely stunned. At this moment, it is impossible to describe how he felt in his heart. Anger, fear, nervousness, worry. This complex emotion made the potential in his body fully unlocked in an instant. Immediately after, lightning bolts came down from the sky. Golden rays of light erupted from Sun Wukong's body, fine lightning appeared around his body, and his hair began to change between black and gold. Slowly, Sun Wukong also stood up. His eyes were cold and cruel, and the whole person gave a feeling of extreme unease. What is even more frightening is that in Frieza's surprised eyes, his breath is growing at a terrifying speed. In just an instant, he reached the level of using the King's Fist, and then immediately surpassed it. Chapter 706 I Am Angry. Sun Wukong's strong shot made Frieza's eyes move directly from Vegeta's body to his surroundings. With his hands forward, Sun Wukong's face was solemn, and he could feel the powerful momentum of the enemy from far away. This is the terror beyond the imposing manner just now. The pressure from the other party makes his forehead full of sweat. But somehow, in his heart, the burning fighting spirit didn't go out, instead it burned even higher. So strong. This kind of pressure actually made me feel excited. I really want to fight him. I have to say that some people are born warriors. In the face of a powerful enemy, they never back down. Instead, they can make the fighting spirit in their hearts overflow, and thus burst out even more powerful forces. There is no doubt that Sun Wukong is such a person. His heart is trembling and shaking at the moment. Under this tension, pressure, and excitement, his whole body is shaking slightly. In the next moment, Frieza's figure suddenly rushed into the sky, and the terrifying speed directly caused a sonic boom, like a muffled thunder. In an instant, Frieza's body appeared in front of Sun Wukong. Die, wild monkey! As soon as Frieza appeared, he grinned and punched. So strong. Only when he faced it in person did Sun Wukong realize the pressure Vegeta faced just now. His body was stiff for a moment, which was caused by the opponent's powerful momentum. But in just a moment, it returned to its previous appearance. Like this. Fight. Suddenly, Sun Wukong's face became extremely ferocious, and a scorching red air column suddenly rushed out of his body. With a boom, everything in his body seemed to be on fire, heading towards the sky. Jia Wong Fist, 30 times. With a loud roar, the crimson flames around Sun Wukong's body were as high as 30 meters, and the surging arrogance made his breath greatly increase in an instant. This scene shook the face of Frieza, who was full of confidence. How is that possible? It strengthened so much in an instant. Bang! The fists of the two collided fiercely, causing a large space to distort, and invisible ripples paused, and then spread out. The place where the ripples swept, formed a strong wind and roared out. There was a large shock wave impact, the infinite airflow was shaking, and a large piece of dust was rolled up. Kaylin and the others, who were watching the battle from a distance of 1,000 meters, shouted loudly and were rolled into the sky in an instant, and they used chi to control their figure before they stabilized. A fist collided, and the eyes of the two were staring at each other fiercely. Look how much power you have. Frieza punched again, 2 punches like a chain of guns, constantly attacking Sun Wukong. His attack is fierce, and every punch is full force, forming a gust of wind, lightning and thunder. Sun Wukong was sweating profusely, and the red flames were burning, giving him a steady stream of strength, and collided with Frieza again and again. However, Jia Wong Fist is only a means of exploding chi. His physical strength is doubled. The higher the Jia Wong Fist, the more serious the consumption of his body. After a short period of 10 breaths, Sun Wukong already felt exhausted. He had already fought against Frieza before, and at this time, he once again forced the potential in his body to reach its limit. It's getting to the limit. Gritting his teeth, Sun Wukong desperately followed Frieza's attack and kept retreating. The figures of the two were moving fast in the sky, but it could also be clearly seen that Sun Wukong was at a disadvantage. That kid can't do it anymore, he can't hold on for long by forcing his potential. Saya stared at Sun Wukong and shook his head. In this state, he really can't hold it anymore. Will it explode next? Yang Qing nodded, thinking about it. At this point in the plot, there has been a slight change. Vegeta's birth has interrupted the original battle. At this time, whether Sun Wukong can break out and transform into a Super Saiyan, even he does not know. Wow! Finally, the arrogance of Sun Wukong in the field suddenly extinguished, his face became pale, and then, Frieza punched his face hard, and directly knocked him to the ground. I said, it's all the same, you're done, wild monkey. Only 3 minutes of blood, can't it be done now? Seeing Sun Wukong struggling to get up on the ground, Frieza sneered and sneered. He turned his gaze to Vegeta again, seeing that she was also lying on the ground at the moment. It was very difficult, and he couldn't help but smile again. This feeling of being stronger than everyone makes him very proud, and disdainful. No fun. He spit out 2 words coldly, his eyes flashed, and he saw the 2 Krilin who were trying to act in vain. It's interesting to have 2 little mice. Slowly raising his finger, Frieza pointed to Krillin. At this moment, Sun Wukong struggled to see this scene. His heart immediately trembled, and a great panic filled his heart. No. He knew very well in his heart that Krilin was afraid and worried about the consequences of this attack. However, Frieza obviously didn't care about his mood. A red light bloomed in his right hand, and with a boom sound, Wen Klein couldn't react at all. This chapter is not over. Click on the next page to continue reading. Straight through his mouth. Ah! Until now, Krilin still hadn't noticed what he looked like. He only felt a pain in his body, and his vitality was rapidly draining. Uncle Krillin! Sun Wukong cried out in horror and sadness. Krilin, who was standing originally, quickly dissipated the light in his eyes, and his body fell softly. And Sun Wukong, who was lying on the ground and saw this scene with his own eyes, was completely stunned. At this moment, the feeling in his heart cannot be described. Anger, fear, nervousness, worry. This complex emotion made the potential in his body fully unlocked in an instant. Immediately after, lightning bolts came down from the sky. Golden rays of light erupted from Sun Wukong's body, fine lightning appeared around his body, and his hair began to change between black and gold. Slowly, Sun Wukong also stood up. His eyes were cold and cruel, and the whole person gave a feeling of extreme unease. What is even more frightening is that in Frieza's surprised eyes, his breath is growing at a terrifying speed. In just an instant, he reached the level of using the King's Fist, and then immediately surpassed it. Chapter 707 will win. The air was trembling, the golden airflow was surging, and the surrounding ground began to collapse and crack. At this moment, Sun Wukong's momentum became extremely fierce. The sharp golden aura showed an unparalleled edge. Crackling. Golden lightning circled around him, and at a certain moment, the ever-changing hair color finally fixed and became golden. His hair stood upright, his eyebrows also turned golden, and his pupils became pale green. The cold eyes and the calm expression made him at this moment have a majesty and solemnity that he did not usually have. Anger, desire to kill, slaughter, and hope in the heart of Sun Wukong, roaring and churning, but he was forcibly restrained. The first time he transformed into a Super Saiyan, the brutality in his bones deeply affected him. Dad! Sun Wukong stared at this scene, stunned. He had never seen his father look like this, and he had seen Vegeta just now. Dad, transform into the legendary Super Saiyan. He will definitely be able to defeat Frieza. Son Gohan firmly believed this, and was very excited. Gohan. At this moment, Sun Wukong spoke, and his voice was far more cruel than usual, making Sun Wufan's heart tremble when he heard it. Take them out of here, I'm afraid I can't control myself. The brutality and anger in this bloodline gave Sun Wukong a desire to destroy the whole world. And this desire, incomparably strong. In the distance, Yangqing and Saya, who were looking at each other across the air, saw Sun Wukong's appearance at this time, and their eyes flashed. This kid, transforming into a Super Saiyan is so strong. Saya said in shock that this is far more powerful than ordinary people. He transformed at that time, far from reaching such energy intensity. Even now, it is very dangerous. Yangqing watched silently, his eyes flickered, and he clearly saw the moment of Sun Wukong's transformation, which made his heart tremble. Unlike Xiaoyana's outstanding talent, Sun Wukong's talent can be said to be not strong, but when he faces danger, he can always burst out with power far beyond ordinary people. Moreover, the most terrifying thing is that this man has a pure mind, and his persistent pursuit of strength never relaxes, which has also allowed him to accumulate enough power. Today, such a background has all exploded, and has a profound impact on his future path. Of course, if he hadn't died. In a sense, the time and space that Yangqing is in at the moment should be the normal state of Longzhu's plot development. That main time and space was disturbed by Trunks before heading towards. It is precisely because of that, Sun Wukong burst out with his dazzling light, which is so dazzling in the entire universe. Super Saiyan. Frieza looked at Sun Wukong, narrowed his eyes, and said softly. Son Gohan carried Krillin on his back, then floated in front of Vegeta, and in the latter's surprised eyes, he carried Vegeta on his back with fear. Don't stare at me, it was Dad who asked me to take you away. I know, he has now transformed into the legendary Super Saiyan. He will never lose. Dad, always the strongest. Gohan said softly and left here with Vegeta on his back. During this process, Frieza did nothing, because he was completely shocked by the blonde guy in front of him. Under the calm momentum, it was like a volcano, and terrifying power fluctuations would erupt at any time. Super Saiyan, I killed a lot too. Speaking to himself, Frieza sneered, strode forward, and swung a punch towards Sun Wukong. Bang! This punch hit Sun Wukong firmly in the face, and the powerful force made the latter's neck crooked. However, Frieza's expression changed. Didn't eat. Like a fly. A ruthless voice came out of Sun Wukong's mouth, and the arrogance and ruthlessness of the Saiyans were completely revealed from him at this moment. This is the opposite of usual momentum, which gives Sun Wukong a strange sense of contradiction. Arrogant. With a loud shout, Frieza woke up instantly and threw out another punch. However, after the punch was thrown, Sun Wukong grabbed his wrist directly. Immediately following, Frieza felt a great pain coming from his wrist. His strong physique was actually bent by the boy in front of him, and the hand that squeezed his wrist was like an iron hoop, crushing his bones. Ah! With a loud cry, Frieza pulled out his right hand and retreated dozens of meters behind. Shaking his aching right hand, Frieza stared at the person opposite. With a ruthless aura and an evil aura, he seemed to be even more terrifying than himself. This kid is completely different from Vegeta. Frieza confirmed this, his eyes flashed, he had transformed into the third stage, and he didn't think he would lose to anyone. This is his most powerful state, the pinnacle of power, and he has stood in the universe for so many years, relying on this power. Sun Wukong just stood there calmly, looking at Frieza's eyes, without even killing intent. But it was this deadly calm that put a lot of pressure on Frieza. The outcome of this battle has been decided. Yangqing laughed when he saw Sun Wukong's transformation. Quote. This chapter is not over, click on the next page to continue reading. Come on, Namek is about to be destroyed. Faintly said something to Seiya, who was stunned for a moment, completely unable to understand. Two people obviously did not fight, how can they decide the winner? Elder, will Sun Wukong win? Yes. Seeing Yangqing floating up, Seiya followed closely. After 3 breaths, he heard a constant humming sound of muffled thunder in the half of the sky behind him. He knew very well that this was the result of the battle between the two. Collision sound. Immediately afterwards, the topography and climate of Namek began to change drastically. Gradually, there was a volcanic eruption, and a huge explosion fell from the sky, covering the entire planet in a very short time. The battle of 2 super warriors has put the planet into rampant mode and is about to face the end of destruction. The battle that was basically the same as the original unfolded on Namek. In the end, at the moment when the entire planet exploded, Yangqing and Seiya's figures distorted and disappeared here. The next second, the two appeared on Earth. Unlike the fierce battle of Namek, the Earth at this time seemed very calm. Beautiful scenery and mild climate. Chapter 708 Arranging the Great Elder. There was a faint fragrance everywhere in the air, and the place where the two appeared was a garden. This figure is exquisite, wearing a white dress, holding a watering can in his hand, and it is Yiqi who is watering the flowers and plants in the garden at the moment. Yiqi. With a soft cry, Yiqi immediately turned around and gave Yangqing a big smile. Have you come back from a walk? Seiya rolled his eyes, but did not expose Yangqing. When the two went out, they did say to Yiqi that they were walking. No matter how rich Renyeki's imagination is, he would never have imagined that the two of them had already watched a big duel that would destroy the planet. Well, I'm back. With a calm face, Yangqing replied softly, standing next to Yiqi, took the watering can, and skillfully watered the flowers and plants in the garden. How long will you be back this time? Yiqi asked. I can stay for a long time. My cultivation has temporarily entered a bottleneck. Yangqing smiled. After merging part of the energy to form the power of God, Yangqing's bottleneck did come. As for the 3rd stage of Super Saiyan, after the fusion power is completed, he can already transform. It's just that the consumption of physical strength and breath in Super Saiyan 3 is very exaggerated, but because of this, his explosive power is extremely strong. Super Saiyan 3, in the original book, is strong enough to fight Majin Buu. That's good, just stay here for a while. Yiqi said happily. Yeah, Yangqing nodded. The plot has already begun, and Yangqing will survive peacefully on the Earth. Because he is not very clear about the timeline, the destruction of the Earth may not last long, so he simply stays here. When the disaster broke out, he transferred all the people who were close to him, including Yiqi. As a preparatory realm god, saving a few mortals is not a big deal. 2 days later, Yangqing said to Yiqi, and then disappeared from the Earth. He came here this time for the matter of the Great Elder of Namek, and Yangqing still remembered his request to him before his death. The Great Elder didn't die for a long time, so the souls should still be queuing up at Yama, and there is no arrangement yet. In a flash, Yangqing came to the Yama Hall. The souls here are all lined up in an orderly manner. After people die, unless they make great contributions to the race or planet or in other special circumstances, they all appear here in the form of clouds. The arrival of Yangqing immediately made the surrounding souls and underworld soldiers look over. Yan Luo was huge. Sitting at the table, he also saw Yangqing's body, and he couldn't help but tremble immediately. A shocked look appeared in his pupils, and then he felt a little more fear. Wow! In the next instant, Yan Luo actually stood up directly, then headed forward, and bent down sharply. Meet the gods. Yama didn't know that the gods were coming, and hoped the gods atone for their sins. With a loud roar, the entire Yama temple trembled, and the soldiers who saw the appearance of their boss immediately fell to the ground in a putong. Yama's body trembled, and he felt that the other party's divinity and even divine vocation far surpassed him, and he was completely unable to detect it, which meant that the other party's dimensional level was too far from his own. Where did this god come from? Could it be the king of the realm? Or the king of the great realm? Yama's knowledge is not much better than that of ordinary gods. In his opinion, the realm king is already a very high-level existence. Yan Luo, get up, take me to a place, I have something to ask you. Yang Qing is also not polite, he knows that the level difference between gods and gods is very strict. High-dimensional gods and even low-dimensional gods don't even know about it. But once they meet, they will feel the coercion from their souls. Yes. Yan Luo said loudly, and then immediately led Yang Qing to an empty room. After reaching the room, Yan Luo became smaller and returned to the same size as Yang Qing. In front of this god of unknown origin, but clearly far superior to him, he would not dare to be greater than the other party. I don't know who God is. Yama asked cautiously. You'd better not know. After glancing at Yan Luo, Yang Qing said lightly. A word made Yan Luo tremble, and he dared not ask any more questions. Little one understands. I came to you to ask you to help me find someone so that he can return to his previous appearance and survive in the heavenly world. Then, Yang Qing said again. Yan Luo was stunned. It's easy to find someone, but going to the heaven, I can't be the master. The Realm King, I will go and say, you just need to do it. Yang Qing said coldly. Yan Luo shook and nodded immediately. Yes. He was also afraid in his heart, secretly guessing Yang Qing's identity. He can even handle the Realm King, what is the holy place? At least, it's all at the first level of the Realm King, even. Thinking of this, Yan Luo widened his eyes. Even, one level higher than Lord Kai. Yang Qing didn't care what Yan Luo was thinking, and explained the identity of the Great Elder to him. It took less than 3 minutes to find the Great Elder from the densely packed souls. The Great Elder at this time was still in the shape of a white cloud, and he was very. This chapter is not over. Click on the next page to continue reading. It was brought to Yang Qing's face. Lord God, this is the Great Elder of Namek. He didn't make much mistakes during his lifetime, but he didn't make any great contributions. He should have been reincarnated. Yan Luo said with a smile. Yang Qing nodded and waved a divine light with his hand. The Great Elder in front of him flashed white light and immediately returned to the appearance in front of him. This is, Qing. The first elder was startled, looked at himself, saw Yang Qing again, and said in surprise. Silence first, I'll take you to the Realm King. Yang Qing shook his head at the Great Elder, and the Great Elder immediately shut up. He also saw Yama, who was obviously afraid, and couldn't help but be shocked. Putting his right hand on the elder's body, Yang Qing said a word to Yan Luo and left here. Thank you Yama for your help. God is polite, Yama said respectfully, with a smile on his face. After nodding, Yang Qing disappeared here. In another flash, Yang Qing and the Great Elder had already appeared in the palace where the Great Realm King was. The Great Realm King was lying on a chair at the moment, resting with his sunglasses on. He felt that someone was coming, and looked sideways. Yo, is Qing here? Chapter 709 Servant. The moment he saw the person coming, a happy smile appeared on the face of the Great Realm King. The Great Realm King was very proud of the guy he introduced and recommended. Until now, every time he recalled the shock and dumbfoundedness on the face of Kaiwang God, he felt both physical and mental pleasure. Even if you have a higher position than me, you still have to suffer in front of my disciple. That's right, the Great Realm King has long regarded Yang Qing as his disciple. Why do you have time to come to me? How is your practice at Kaiwangshan? He asked casually, but the Great Realm King didn't get up either. In front of his own disciple, he seemed very relaxed. The speaker next to him was playing retro-style music with a clear rhythm. Yang Qing walked over with a smile on his face, and bowed first. I have encountered a bottleneck for the time being, come and see the Great Realm Lord, don't delay anything. Oh, that's fine. The Great Realm King nodded, and looked at the Great Elder of Namek again. What is this kid doing? In the eyes of the Great Realm King, the older Great Elder was indeed just a kid. My friend, I also ask the Great Realm King to let him survive in the heaven. Yang Qing smiled. The Great Elder on the side was nervous. Although he didn't know the identity of the old man in front of him, his aura was naturally many times higher than his own in his soul. This was natural suppression, even if the other party didn't know anything. But he also has a feeling in his heart that as long as the other party thinks, a look can kill him. A guy who lives in the celestial world and exists in the form of a human before his death, unless he has made a major contribution to the race and the planet. This kid created the long bead, and he doesn't know how many things he has done to affect the balance of the universe. The Great Realm King glanced at it, and in the blink of an eye, he saw through the identity of the Great Elder, and said casually. This sentence caused the sweat to seep out of the forehead of the elder. He really didn't know that he was so great that he could even affect the balance of the universe. The big hat was buckled, and his soul trembled, and he almost collapsed. Hey, I also hope that the Great Realm King will be accommodating. Yang Qing giggled, but also didn't care what the Great Elder said. After the latter listened, he took a deep look at Yang Qing, and then let out a long laugh. But if you speak up, it's nothing. From now on, he will follow me and be a servant. Thank you, Lord Great Realm King. Yang Qing said happily. You don't need to thank me anymore, I'm afraid your status is different now, right? I think you have the aura of a god's official duty, and Lord Realm God has given you a priesthood. The Great Realm King looked at Yang Qing and asked suspiciously. He had noticed from the very beginning that Yang Qing had an aura that was of the same origin as his own. This aura was very deep, but it was obscure, and he couldn't tell what the opponent's level was. Well, I'm already a preparatory realm god, equivalent to a real realm intern. Yang Qing smiled and nodded. A trace of shock flashed in the eyes of the Great Realm King, and then quickly hid. You are really fast, so it seems that your strength has reached a terrifying level. Slight progress, hee. Yang Qing scratched his head, feeling a little embarrassed. All of this can only be accomplished by asking Lord Great Realm King. Seeing Yang Qing's appearance, the Great Realm King took a deep look at him again. There are very few people who can maintain a normal experience like you. Your Xing is indeed good. Keep it up, and it will only be a matter of time before you become a realm god. The Great Realm King is very fond of Yang Qing, and the change from high to low will cause changes in the heart and nature. Humans, or creatures such as gods, are all the same. Falling from a high place will change your Xing, and if you suddenly rise from the ground and the surrounding environment changes, it will also lead to a big change in your Xing. However, he did not see this from Yang Qing's body. This kid is still the same as before. That's hard to come by. In a sense, strength is one aspect, but the biological body, more importantly, is the nature of mind. Tenacity, perseverance, and kindness are all invaluable qualities. I still need the teaching of the Realm King. Yang Qing said with a smile. Okay, you kid came to me just for this kid, right? Now that I've agreed, why don't you leave? The Great Realm King waved his hands in disgust. Ah, that kid left, hee. Yang Qing saluted again, and disappeared here in a flash. Looking at Yang Qing who said to leave, the Great Realm King was also taken aback and shook his head. This kid, he really wants to leave. Then, he turned to look at the Great Elder of Namek. Follow me, you can't show up like this, I like young people. As soon as the Great Realm King waved his hand, the appearance of the Great Elder immediately changed drastically. His old face became younger, and in just 3 breaths, he had changed into a young man who only appeared to be in his 20s. Well, not bad. After nodding, the Great Realm King walked into the palace with his hands behind his back. The first elder hesitated for a while, first shocked by the changes in his body, and then finally couldn't help but ask. That, Lord Great Realm King, Qing He, what does the current preparatory Realm King God mean? In a word, the Great Realm King turned around suddenly, his face serious and fierce. Just glanced at it, and the Great Elder was sweating coldly all over his body, and immediately lowered his head. After a long time, big. This chapter is not over, click on the next page to continue reading. The Realm King just dissipated his momentum and said lightly. The bottom layer in the universe is the various races, the gods of the planets, they guard a race or a planet, the priesthood, the lowest divinity, and the top is Yama, responsible for the ghost circulation system of the 4 galaxies in the south, and northwest. On top of that, there are 4 other realm kings. When we get here, it can be said that the realm kings have a very high status. They are responsible for the operation of the living beings in a galaxy and the operation of the universe. You can imagine how huge this is. Of course, these realm kings are also powerful warriors themselves, and they will also have heroes or powerhouses who have died in various galaxies under their command to operate the normal operation of the realm of the gods. The first elder showed a shocked expression. In his eyes, Yan Luo was already very powerful. He had a fat figure, a strict aura, and managed hundreds of millions of ghosts. However, above Yan Luo, there was actually a realm king. Could it be that Qing He is the realm king? Just when he guessed secretly, the great realm king took another breath and spoke lightly. And above the 4 realm kings, there is also the strongest realm king. That's the great realm king. The eyes of the elders suddenly widened. 710 Awakening 3. The great realm king. The person in front of him is the great realm king. That's what Qing called it, and he just followed suit. So, that means that the person in front of you is the 4 major galaxies, the most powerful and highest-ranking gods in the entire universe. My God! What a noble status this is, and he actually became a servant of such a character. How lucky is this? And I am the king of the great realm. Just as he was in shock in his heart, the old man in front of him spoke calmly, making him sure at once. The great elder almost fell to his knees. He had to tremble in front of Yama. At this time, facing the highest gods in the 4 major galaxies, he really didn't know what to do. But above the great realm king, there is also the highest level of gods. He leads the gods in the sky. He is the god of the gods. He is located at the highest peak. He manages the operation of the universe. Strength is the creature of legend. Quote. This person is the Kaiwang god. King god. The first elder said in a daze. It is conceivable that this god is obviously the god of the realm king, and his status must be unimaginably high. And your friend, Qing, is also my disciple. You have to listen carefully to his current status, and don't tell anyone. The great realm king's tone was extremely serious, even threatening, making the great elder gather his energy and nod his head heavily. He is a preparatory realm god, higher than any realm king, only lower than real realm god. As long as he passes a series of tests, he can become a real realm god. My God! The first elder was about to collapse. He couldn't imagine that Qing, who he was familiar with, had not seen him for many years, and had become the legendary realm god. In this way, a god who controls the universe and possesses infinite power is simply a character he can't even dream of. You have no right to know these things. However, as my servant and Qing's friend, I will make an exception to tell you, you must remember and don't reveal it to anyone. The voice of the great realm king made the great elder tremble and nodded immediately. Don't worry, Lord Great Realm, I must be rotten in my stomach, and I will never tell anyone. Humph! With a cold snort, the great realm king turned his head and slowly walked away from here. The first elder was still in shock and still couldn't return to his senses. Yang Qing's identity had really shocked him too much. After saying goodbye to the great realm king, Yang Qing returned to Earth and lived with Yi Qi and others. He was silently waiting for the moment, and now that the plot is on the right track, it's just a matter of waiting. In a remote corner of the distant universe, a thin figure that looked somewhat similar to Yang Qing floated over a planet with a smile on the corner of his mouth. I have a hunch that I will be able to advance by drawing on the blood of the people on this planet. Between the fusion of blood vessels, the huge burst of energy is enough to make my total energy grow by leaps and bounds. The function of the eternal melting pot also seems to be integrated with me. At this moment, I am much stronger than before. Awakening 2 is already so powerful, so what about Awakening 3? Really looking forward to it. This figure is Sha Ya. He fused the eternal melting pot and discovered the secrets in the depths of his bloodline. Since then, his strength has grown by leaps and bounds. Today, he actually has a premonition that he will soon enter the next awakening stage, which makes his heart full of excited, but also with some anticipation. He is getting stronger and stronger, and there is a hint of irresistible strength in his breath. The races on this planet are not very powerful, and their numbers do not change. Heading down towards the planet, Shia recalled the information he had obtained in his mind. But there are rumors that they have the breath of God in their blood, and they are the descendants of the gods. This is interesting. It is precisely because of the breath of the gods that their combat effectiveness has been multiplied. Fusing their blood, can the breath of my body also contaminate the gods? If I remember correctly, deep in my blood, the blood of the Saiyan god has always been in the seal. If this seal can be unlocked, that must be able to obtain extremely powerful power. There are thousands of thoughts in Shaya's mind, and powerful power has always been the goal he pursues. Of course, he liked this race very much, and there was another reason. They can use their strength 100%. Because of this bloodline, I must be fused. In any case, no matter how hard Shaya tried, he couldn't use his power 100%, only a little bit. He had already guessed that there must be a natural barrier, like a moat, to prevent move on with him. The harsh sound of breaking the air spread over the planet, and the creatures who were resting immediately noticed the existence of Char. Immediately, there were not many, but only tens of thousands of gods clan gathered together, staring closely at Shah, who fell from the sky. "Who are you?" Someone shouted out, eyes full of alertness. He slowly landed alone, his feet touched the ground, and a smile appeared on the corner of Shaya's mouth. "Who am I? Come and take you away, and let your blood radiate the god of light that he deserves." This chapter is not over. Click on the next page to continue reading. In the end, Shaya's expression had become cruel and hideous. "Hand over your blood. Kill him." In an instant, the leader of the clan of gods discovered the ferocity of Shaya, and his face changed greatly and he shouted loudly. Boom! The battle broke out. Shaya's face was indifferent and cold, and he waved his hands at will, and the people of the clan of God fell to the ground. When half a quarter of an hour passed, there were only 5 people left on the ground. Chuan stared at Shia with breathless eyes. "Only your 5 bloodlines have the highest purity, so let's keep you." After striding over, 1 person and 1 palm, Shia stunned all 5 of them, and then he started blood fusion. But within 2 hours, Shaya's blood fusion has been completed. Feeling his blood boiling, a smile appeared on his face. "It's so refreshing, such a feeling." With a sigh, he suddenly changed his face and threw a punch. Immediately afterwards, Shaya looked up to the sky and laughed. "Ha ha 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 ha. Fusion, really fusion. A punch with 100% power. From now on, my power can do whatever I want, and I can control it to perfection. Father, you will no longer be my opponent." Ha 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 ha. Chapter 711 Frieza arrives. Although Shaya already had this feeling a long time ago, the person who has always been unfathomable in his heart, he has been able to defeat him and has surpassed his power. However, until this moment, this feeling is even stronger. Boom! Just when he was excited, the majestic energy between the fusion bloodlines burst out. Crackling. The terrifying thunder resounded over the entire planet, golden lightning spread across half of the sky, and even the dimensional space behind Shia seemed to collapse. An extremely terrifying fluctuation of power emanated from his body, and Shia's face showed an excited look. Ha 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 ha. Awakening 3. Reached. He clenched his fists around his waist suddenly and roared. Ha! Buzz! The air began to flow irregularly, the wind whistled, and the golden lightning around Shaya's body was extremely dazzling. His hair turned golden in an instant, his forehead bulged high, his eyes became sharp, and his entire face became mature. The muscles on the body are majestic and it looks very oppressive, and the golden hair is dragged down to the back until the waist. The powerful fluctuations of power spread out in an instant, and the terrifying momentum caused a loud explosion on the surface of the planet, and the ground collapsed. This is an unrestrained force, and the moment it spreads out, the entire planet almost explodes. But even so, the sky was covered with overcast clouds, lightning and thunder, and the wind roared, making it look like the end of the world. Powerful, too powerful. Shaya shouted excitedly. He slammed his hand, and a golden qigong wave formed in the blink of an eye, and then turned red again. After a boom, the qigong wave became the size of a playground. Then, he waved his hand. Throw it down. Destroy it. The qigong wave the size of the playground was very fast and fell directly into the surface of the planet. In just an instant, an extremely violent explosion was emitted, and red flames shot up into the sky. Shaya stood in the sky, wrapped in flames, didn't care, her face still had a thick smile. With his arms around him, he was silently experiencing his new state of power. It takes too much physical strength, but such strength is enough to destroy everything. He is very satisfied with his current state. The power of awakening 3 state is much stronger than 2. Poof! After 2 breaths, the planet erupted with incomparably dazzling light, spreading out in a circular shape in all directions, and in just a moment, it dissipated again and lost its light. From extreme light, to silent darkness, in just a moment. Shaya stood in the void of the universe, with clenched fists and a smile on his face, very satisfied. Afterwards, his body changed and returned to its original state. He changed back again, his face was a little pale, awakening 3 put too much load on his body, and he couldn't last long in his current state. In a flash, Shaya disappeared into the universe. He still had other things to do. On the long road to becoming stronger, it was not all smooth sailing for him, and he also had a story. The story of an evil man, his own story. Time passed slowly, and in the blink of an eye, Sun Wukong and Frieza fought, and a period of time has passed. Peace has returned to the Earth, and the Nameks have been properly arranged on a new planet. Everything seems to have passed, and the Earth warriors are living happily. But on this day, the complexions of all the warriors on the Earth suddenly changed. This evil breath. The first thing I sensed is that the god in the temple, his face became extremely ugly. This evil aura is extremely grand. Compared to him, it is like the light of lamps and the sun. It's Frieza. Piccolo's expression changed, and Vegeta's expression turned cold. He dares to come. Vegeta was very dissatisfied with his loss to Frieza last time. After training, his combat power this time was much stronger than that time. Yes, his foundation is not good, and the elders also mentioned this to him. Therefore, during this time, he frantically made up for his shortcomings. Under the guidance of Seiya, Vegeta's own foundation became incomparable. Reality. Don't leave for 3 days, look at it with admiration. I'm talking about Vegeta, and his combat power can be said to be not bad at all. Krillin and others were shocked. In the absence of Wukong, no one was Frieza's opponent, which was too dangerous for them. In the end, however, they got up and headed for where Frieza was going to land. 10 minutes later, all the Earth warriors came to a remote canyon and watched the aircraft slowly descending in the sky. Their faces were solemn, and their hearts were under great pressure. Vegeta's eyes were sullen, his arms were in his arms, and his heart was about to move. He couldn't restrain the urge to shoot. He was a proud warrior, and he would never admit his failure. Soon, the aircraft landed, and a series of space warriors emerged from it, and finally, Frieza, and a stocky guy appeared. "Frieza, are these guys the ones who beat you?" said the sturdy and stocky man who clearly resembled Frieza. "These weak guys still can't beat me, the guys who beat me have already." This chapter is not over. Click on the next page to continue reading. After death, the inferior race of Saiyans cannot survive in the vacuum of the universe. With obvious hatred in Frieza's eyes, he glanced at a few people and said coldly. Suddenly, he saw Vegeta, and his eyes were filled with murderous intent. "Vegeta, you are still alive. But it's good, Sun Wukong is dead, I can't take revenge on him. You are also a Saiyan, today, let you wild monkeys become extinct. Father, just watch the show here, these guys, I'll be able to get rid of them soon. After Frieza finished speaking to Vegeta in disdain, he spoke to the person behind him. His words made Vegeta and the others startled immediately, and their hearts became nervous. Frieza, and father. Vegeta trembled in her heart, she was incredulous. Frieza's strength has made him very dignified, but such a guy has also called a father who is similar to him, and may even be stronger. What's going on with this family? At this moment, the Earth warriors present were all bitter. Chapter 712 _ There is no way not to be bitter, not to despair. 2 Friezas, the utility produced is definitely greater than 1 + 1 = 2. His father, obviously, doesn't seem to be easy to mess with. Even if Frieza was the only one, everyone present was at a loss. Frieza looked at the expressions on everyone's faces and showed a mocking and disdainful smile. What? Scared? Today, the Earth is about to be destroyed, and you all have to die. His voice was cold and cruel, high above, announcing the fate of the Earth and everyone. But just as his words fell, 2 figures suddenly appeared in a twisted shape. One of them was burly with a cold face, the other was about 1.75 meters tall, with a thin body and an indifferent face. As soon as he appeared, he glanced at Frieza coldly. Among them, the burly man spoke directly. Frieza, you are too arrogant, on Earth, it is not your turn to be wild. Saiyan, too. And you. Frieza was suddenly the 2 people who were looking at him, and his heart suddenly picked up. He was shocked to notice that Saiyan was a Saiyan, and what surprised him even more was Yangqing, the only guy who was afraid in his heart and felt unsure. The Earth may be destroyed, but not on you, Frieza. Yangqing stood up and said lightly. Today is your day of death. After killing your brother, I always wanted to behead you, but I should give the younger generation a chance. He walked slowly towards Frieza, whispering as he walked. Saya originally rushed out to fight, and saw that the elder was going to do it himself, so he had to stop, but everyone could see the excitement in his eyes. Elder, it's time to take action. It's great. It's been a long time since I saw the great elder take action. Vegeta, on the other hand, breathed a sigh of relief, looking at Yangqing with reverence in his eyes. Big elder. Killed my brother. Frieza was startled, and then his heart trembled. His brother died very early, at least 10 years have passed, and he was brought up again today. He would be afraid of the guy who killed his brother, because he knew clearly that he was definitely not his brother's opponent. Then, the guy who can kill his brother must also kill himself. You killed him. Frieza's voice was already trembling and trembling. When I went to gain strength, I was going to kill you before you came. Unfortunately, it was a mistake, and the time was delayed. By the time I went back, you had already destroyed Star Vegeta. Yangqing moved forward step by step, speaking calmly. At that time, I already had the power to kill you, but I didn't choose to kill you. Even if they kill you, and your brother, your father, they will avenge me. And among them, your brother is the strongest. So, I chose him as my first goal. Only by defeating him can I live with peace of mind. Only by defeating him, then, if I kill you, it will be as simple as killing a mosquito. Slowly, Yangqing stood in front of Frieza. His icy aura and calm expression made Frieza take a step back. Even Frieza himself didn't know why he was so frightened in front of this guy. He faintly felt that there was an aura that naturally made him fearful in the other's body. Then I fought him and I killed him. After killing him, I didn't come to kill you. Even if I saw you several times, I forbear the hatred in my heart. Because, you are a new generation, Saiyan, and I am not the only strong one. The Saiyans are a proud nation, and a powerful fighting nation. There are many strong men among them, and I will never be the only one. Maybe, I am the strongest among the Saiyans now, but one day, my junior will surpass me and become stronger. And you, Frieza, in my eyes, you are just an ant-like existence, only assigned to my younger generation as a stepping stone. After saying this, Vegeta on the side, the Saiyan's face finally came to a realization. At the same time, they were even more excited. Saiyans are a proud nation and a powerful nation. I will give you the opportunity to kill you and give you my younger generation. I firmly believe that my younger generation will surpass you and kill you. Such words made Vegeta, a young Saiyan like Seiya, have blood boiling in his heart. That's right, they are madly and desperately cultivating, fighting, and advancing every day, isn't it just for the honor of the Saiyans? They are the most proud race. In the face of opponents who are not as good as themselves, they will be too lazy to even make a move. But if it is an enemy stronger than himself, then, like crazy, they will surpass him. This is the Saiyan, the spirit of the Saiyan. But now, your usefulness is over. There is an existence in my younger generation that overcomes you, and he is still alive and stronger than before. I can finally take your head with confidence. Yang Qing stood in front of Frieza, face to face with the latter, with a stern expression and a sharp tone. The weak killing intent made Frieza tremble, and fear. This chapter is not over. Click on the next page to continue reading. Vegeta stood aside and was slightly startled when she heard Yang Qing's words. Kakarot, stronger, he is still alive. For the low-level warrior who supported the Saiyan honor in his place, to be honest, although he was very unwilling in his heart, he was also convinced. The other party was very powerful and surpassed himself every time. Clenching his fists, Vegeta made up his mind that after this time, he would practice harder. I will never be surpassed. Are you going to kill me? Frieza's fearful words were clearly heard in Vegeta's ears at this time, and everyone present was startled when they saw Vegeta's terrified expression. They don't understand at all why the other party is so afraid. Even Frieza's father had some doubts. Frieza, what's wrong with you? Yang Qing's face was calm and said lightly. Not to kill you, but to kill you. His hand slowly stretched behind his back, and the Johi sword came out of its sheath and was caught by him. You two have to die today. Walking slowly over, Yang Qing didn't even have any imposing manner. But that's it, Frieza and his father were at the same time, with fear on their faces. At this moment, they actually felt that they couldn't move at all. Chapter 713 Challenge. Invisibly, a terrifying aura locked them directly, and this aura, as if far higher than their dimensional level, directly bound their bodies, making them unable to move at all. Mentally, they even felt that the person in front of them seemed to instantly become huge and unimaginable. Fear grows in their hearts and grows more and more. Yang Qing walked slowly, the Johi sword pulled out, and walked towards the two of them. His movements were very calm, and in the eyes of Vegeta and the others around him, he was completely full of flaws, but what surprised them even more was that Frieza and his father, as if they were stupid, didn't even move. Da 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 da. The slight sound of footsteps sounded, and Yang Qing had already reached the front of the two in just 10 steps. He glanced at the two of them, and he swung his sword and slashed with an indifferent expression. Die. Poof. Without the ability to resist at all, Frieza and his father were directly cut into pieces by the Johi sword. At the moment when it was cut out, Yang Qing's sword turned into thousands of phantoms, cutting it instantly. Frieza and his father were cut into innumerable pieces, and when everyone saw the two, they were like glass, and they all shattered with a snap. Immediately after, the light blue light flickered, and Yang Qing's hand flickered with a hot light. Buzz. The air trembled, and blue brilliance with a radiance rose into the sky, flying towards the depths of the universe. Under this high-temperature Qigong wave, Frieza and his father were turned into nothingness. Seeing how easy it is to resolutely kill the almost invincible enemy in their hearts, everyone present swallowed their saliva involuntarily. It's solved. Yang Qing turned around slowly and smiled at everyone. Piccolo was unfamiliar with Yang Qing and showed a puzzled expression, and Sun Wukong had never seen him. However, Kailan and others had a deep impression on Yang Qing. Ching, it's you. You have become so strong. Krillin said in surprise. Elder. Vegeta came over with a complicated expression, but hesitated. Vegeta, your progress is very fast. Yang Qing could see what the other party wanted to ask at a glance, but you still can't beat him. Vegeta's eyes showed disappointment, but she was not depressed, and soon became excited again. I'll keep trying. He said loudly. I will definitely become as powerful as the Great Elder. Vegeta's voice made Yang Qing stunned for a moment, and then laughed. Come on. Saya even walked over and slapped Vegeta hard. You kid, your talent is very good, but the foundation is too poor. You have to make up all the leftovers in order to catch up with that bastard Kakarot. For Sun Wukong forgetting his identity as a Saiyan, Saya still has a lot of complaints in his heart. Therefore, in the chase between the two, he supported Vegeta. Well, I'll try my best. Vegeta nodded heavily. Looking at the two of them, Yang Qing shook his head, then raised his head again, looking at the empty air in front of him. Call. Suddenly a breeze blew, and a figure appeared in a twisted shape. His right hand was pressed between his eyebrows, his face was cold, and there was an invisible majesty and momentum. It just appeared, and it attracted everyone's attention. Goku. Seeing the person coming, Klein exclaimed in surprise. Dad. This is Son Gohan's surprised voice. Kakarot. Vegeta gritted her teeth. Saya's eyes narrowed, and he stared at Sun Wukong, and his heart became solemn. Elder, this kid. Yes, he has mastered the power of Super Saiyan and is stronger. Yang Qing nodded. It's terrifying. It seems to be admiring, and it seems to be unwilling to say, Seiya is a little helpless, the power of the other party may have surpassed himself. Whether it is talent or other reasons, Seiya himself does not know. However, he has never seen a guy who can cultivate so fast after entering the Super Saiyan, which is beyond the limits of the human body. After Sun Wukong came here, he was a little puzzled to see that only his friends, but not Frieza and others. Where's Frieza? I rushed over as soon as I sensed his breath. Dead, Wukong, Frieza has been beaten to death by Qing. Krillin said with a smile. Well, Dad, Frieza and his dad were both beaten to death by Uncle Qing. Son Gohan also nodded and said. Blue. Sun Wukong narrowed his eyes and looked at Yang Qing. The moment he looked at Yang Qing, the latter also blinked and looked at him. So strong. In just a moment, Sun Wukong's whole body tightened, his eyes met, the sharp breath on the other party's body made the hairs on his whole body stand up, and then, the fighting intent in his heart was boiling. Stand up. Now you are not qualified enough, Sun Wukong. Don't try to fight me, the gap is too big. When he was excited, the other party's words directly shattered his fantasy. This chapter is not over. Click on the next page to continue reading. Staring at Yang Qing solemnly, Sun Wukong still did not give up. I want to try. A smile appeared on Yang Qing's face. Even though Sun Wukong has made great progress, the gap between him and him is still as big as the sky and the earth. But since the other party has this idea, he also wants to try it. Then come on. In a word, it showed Yang Qing's casualness and indifference. It was as if he was instructing a newborn child, and he didn't care. But the opposite of Yang Qing was the solemn look on Sun Wukong's face. I saw him holding his hands around his waist, his whole body suddenly swelled, and the golden arrogance had rushed out, and he had transformed into a Super Saiyan state. Come on, Sun Wukong. Yang Qing stretched out his hand and shouted, still with black hair, his expression was unfathomable. Sun Wukong gritted his teeth and bent his legs slightly. The next moment, he was already in front of Yang Qing, and his fists quickly attacked. However, something that shocked him happened. The other party only pointed a finger. Fuck, beat. Roaring loudly, Sun Wukong's strength continued to increase, and all the cells in his body were excited. However, from beginning to end, the opponent just stood there and took all his attacks with one finger easily. With 568 punches on his face, Sun Wukong jumped back 60 meters in surprise. His eyes were even more solemn. Looking at Yang Qing, there was a faint pain in his fist. The opponent only used one finger, and the fist that made him attack with all his strength was painful. Chapter 714, The Artificial Man Awakens. Anyone watching the game can see that the gap between the two is huge. A single finger can deal with Sun Wukong's full-strength attack, and the gorgeous corner of Yang Qing's powerful strength was also seen by everyone present. Everyone swallowed their saliva silently, their hearts shaking violently. Just now, Yang Qing killed Frieza and his father with a single sword. This simple and rude way of winning, to be honest, really made them look dazed. Because it is too simple, no one can see how powerful Yang Qing is. But at this moment, through the strength and weakness of Sun Wukong, they clearly came to the terrifying realm of Yang Qing's power. This is far beyond their realm, completely unreachable to touch the height. Sun Wukong dodged a few times and stepped back, becoming more dignified. Are you still coming? Yang Qing retracted one of his fingers and smiled. You are so powerful. Sun Wukong said solemnly, but he did not give up. He suddenly assumed an attacking stance, and after a breath, his entire body disappeared again. In everyone's eyes, Sun Wukong's figure is so close that they can't capture it at all. However, Yang Qing pointed a finger towards the left air with an extremely relaxed finger. With a bang, the air exploded, and the ripples scattered around. Then, Sun Wukong moved at a high speed and continuously launched towards Yang Qing. Attack! On the other hand, Yang Qing has always pointed out the air beside him with a very relaxed and casual finger. He seemed to be able to clearly predict where Sun Wukong would attack. Every time he clicked it, the air would make a loud noise, and then the shock wave would spread out. The sound of the wind gradually became louder, and the surging of the airflow became more and more intense. Sun Wukong attacked continuously for more than a minute before retreating again. This time, after retreating, a dazzling brilliance shone between his hands. In his eyes, the opponent has no flaws at all. He has already used all the martial skills of his body, but the opponent seems to be watertight, and he doesn't even notice any hope of breaking through. In such a situation, the only way to attack is to use Qigong waves. It's Turtle School Qigong Wave. Krillin said in shock. Sun Wukong has been pushed to the limit. Piccolo muttered solemnly. Vegeta folded her arms in disdain. Stupid Kakarot, still want to defeat the Great Elder. Turtle School Qigong Wave. The light on Sun Wukong's hand was dazzling, and the people around him narrowed their eyes, followed by a stream of light, attacking Yang Qing who was close at hand. In the face of the shock wave of telling flight, Yang Qing showed a smile on the corner of his mouth. Today, come here. In a light sentence, he pointed it out again, and went straight to the turtle Qigong wave that was coming towards him. Boom! As soon as he pointed it out, the Turtle School Qigong wave actually began to twist and sag, and then, with a sound of shoo, it rose directly into the sky, streaked across a long rainbow, and disappeared into the horizon. Everyone present, don't be shocked by this scene. The Turtle School Qigong wave has been bounced off. And, it's a finger. They couldn't believe the fact that they knew how powerful Sun Wukong's Turtle Qigong was, but even so, this person could fly such a powerful attack with just one finger. My God, is he a god? How can he be so powerful? Unable to imagine Yang Qing's height, Kaylin and the others fell into a huge shock. Yes, this is not just a shock, it has become a shock. Sun Wukong was stunned when he saw his Qigong wave being bounced off. Just when he was stunned, Yang Qing's figure suddenly appeared in front of him, and a finger was placed between his eyebrows. It's over, Sun Wukong. A faint voice sounded, awakening Sun Wukong. Slightly startled, Sun Wukong was not afraid, just smiled and said, I lost, you are too strong, I am not your opponent. He simply admitted his failure without any dissatisfaction. The other party is indeed much stronger than himself, there is no shame in this. But in Sun Wukong's heart, he was thinking that since the other party can be so powerful, why can't he? I still need to practice and become stronger. Next time, I will challenge you. Sun Wukong's voice made Yang Qing startled slightly and sighed in his heart. Next time, maybe I won't see you again. But he didn't say much, just nodded, there will be a chance. After that, Yang Qing left with Saya. A rare peace has ushered in the earth again. For 2 years, no disaster happened during this time. To everyone's surprise, Vegeta and Bulma got together and gave birth to a son named Trunks. And Sun Wukong and Chi-Chi have a son, named Wushan. In the blink of an eye, time flies by. One day 2 years later, Yang Qing was in a complicated mood. Looking at the birds flying leisurely in the sky outside the window, Yang Qing sighed. The peace will disappear, and disaster will come after all. 2 years of practice have allowed him to integrate more energy and give birth to more divine power, and he has also mastered the skills of many gods. This chapter is not over. Click on the next page to continue reading. It's time to take Yi-Chi and the others to a safe place. With a sigh, Yang Qing turned and left. An hour later, the Yi family, the richest man in the western capital, collectively disappeared from the earth. Soon, 2 weeks passed. On this day, in a dark underground laboratory, a crazy old man laughed excitedly. Ha ha ha, it worked, it worked. I gathered many genes and collected the cells of many strong people, and I finally succeeded. The android, you should be called the android number 16. Looking at the burly man in front of him, the mad scientist said excitedly. You too, let's call them number 17 and number 18 respectively. Holding the remote control, the scientists woke up the 3 androids. I slept for a long time. Dr. Grow, is our makeover complete? A man and a woman woke up first. The man had a smile on his face, but the coldness in his eyes made his heart tremble, and the woman's eyes were also full of coldness. It's all done, but you have to listen to me. Seeing the cold light in the eyes of the 2 of them, Dr. Gru trembled in his heart, and regretted that he should not have woken the 2 of them up so early. These 3 guys are extremely powerful. If they want to sneak attack on me, I have no resistance at all. Chapter 715 Destroy Sun Wukong. At this time, Dr. Gero has not transformed himself, and he is still the ordinary person who is helpless. In the face of what he did first, number 16, number 17, number 18, if the opponent wanted to take any measures, he had no time to resist. Listen to you. No, 17 feet's eyes narrowed, and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. This smile was a bit cruel, and Dr. Gross shivered. Without daring to pay attention to number 17, Dr. Gross turned his attention to number 16, who looked a little honest. Number 16, how are you feeling? Changing the subject, Dr. Gross wants to remove number 17 feet's killing intent on him. The remote control is in his hands, this guy must know. He was also afraid in his heart. The other party immediately beheaded him, and then took away the remote control. Feel. Number 16 raised his head blankly and looked at Dr. Gross. I feel like I can crush you to death with ease, Doctor. The same cruel tone made Dr. Gross speechless. He quietly took a step back, and when all 3 of them looked at him, making him tremble, he pressed the close button hard. Drip. The crisp alarm sounded, and the 3 number 16, 17, and 18 trembled and stopped moving. Their eyes gradually became dull, and finally closed, and the whole body seemed stiff. Failure. It's a failure. Dr. Gero roared angrily. He was sweating all over at the moment and almost collapsed. He knew very well that the 3 guys just now had absolutely murderous intentions towards him. As long as he is negligent, the other party will definitely kill him without hesitation. Almost, I'm going to die. After a while of fear, Dr. Gero found a chair, fell softly on it, and took a deep breath. I have to have strength myself, that's not good, I can't control them. He finally realized that while having a powerful subordinate, he had to make himself stronger. Also, my ultimate experimental body is about to be completed. By that time, the whole Earth will be mine. His eyes floated to the side of the test tube, where a young seed was sprouting, waiting for the moment of birth. Looking at the seeds in the test tube, the corner of Dr. Grow's mouth burst into a smile called ambition. Compared to them, this is the work I am most proud of. Afterwards, he began to manipulate the machine, and selected several excellent warriors as experiments to transform them. 3 months have passed, and Dr. Grow has successfully completed the transformation of himself, transforming himself into a powerful android. It's time to find Sun Wukong. Looking at the android behind him, Dr. Grow nodded with satisfaction, then he hesitated, took out the remote control again, and released the control of number 16, 17, and 18. With a drip sound, the 3 figures opened their red eyes and walked out. Doctor, why are you shutting us down? No, 17 asked with a smile, with a gloomy tone. The other 2 put their arms around each other and looked at Dr. Grow coldly. Even if he became stronger and looked at by these 3 guys like this, Dr. Gero was still under a lot of pressure. He knew very well that compared with the later androids, the power of these 3 people was far unimaginable. The time has not yet come to use you, and now the time has come. After a vague explanation, Dr. Gross said coldly. Now, attack and destroy Sun Wukong. Sun Wukong. No, 17 was taken aback for a moment, then smiled. He strode out, took 1 step out, causing Dr. Gross to shudder and hold on to the remote control, but to the embarrassment of the latter, number 17 did nothing to him, just passed by him. I will kill him easily. Seeing that Dr. Gru was so afraid of himself, number 17 smiled contemptuously. At the same time, number 16 and number 18 also passed by Dr. Gro and walked out. In just a blink of an eye, the 3 androids had walked out, leaving only Dr. Gro and a group of androids standing on the spot. Why are you still standing there? Let's go too, these 3 guys are unreliable. Seeing the rest of the people, Dr. Gross roared. His heart, he felt that the 3 number 17 were not under his control and could not rely on them for revenge. As soon as the 3 of them left the basement on the 17th, they soared into the sky and flew towards the city not far away. After just a few minutes, the 3 landed on the street. This is a small, remote city with quiet streets and few people. The 3 of them were walking on the street, unhurriedly, when suddenly, number 17 feet's eyes lit up. Car. Before being remodeled, number 17 was also a young man, and he really liked this type of transportation. He jumped suddenly, and in the next second, he was already squatting lightly on the car that was flying at high speed. The sudden appearance of number 17 shocked the driver, and suddenly braked suddenly. The tires rubbed and rubbed against the street, making a harsh sound. The car pulled 10 meters ahead before it stopped. At this sudden stop at high speed, number 17 still squatted tightly on the front hood of the vehicle, and his body was not affected by inertia at all. This chapter is not over. Click on the next page to continue reading. Who are you? Are you dying? Driver was shocked and shouted loudly at number 17. Hee, I want your car. No, 17 has a smile on his face, and his handsome face has a unique charm. The driver stayed for a while, and then became furious. He felt that this person was simply crazy. Go away if you don't want to die, lunatic. Just as he finished speaking, a finger of number 17 penetrated directly between his forehead and brow, stopping his words. Looking at the person in front of him, he fell softly on the seat, blood on the steering wheel. Number 17 showed a disgusting expression, and then threw his body directly out of the car. Then, wiped the steering wheel clean with the clothes on the side. Come on, I'll take you two for a ride. Trying the seat, number 17 smiled and said to the other 2. No, 18 and number 16 looked at each other and shook their heads helplessly. You are so boring. Sun Wukong is still a long way from here. How long will it take to drive this thing? The 2 spoke, but said nothing. Number 16 sat alone in the back seat, and number 18 sat in the co-pilot. No, 17 laughed and said loudly, "It won't take long, hurry up, I'm going." With a slam on the accelerator, the car rushed out. Stepping on the accelerator all the way to the bottom, number 17 feet's long hair was blown backwards, and the strong wind made number 18 keep gathering his black hair. "Why didn't you kill the old man just now?" Suddenly, number 18 asked, and number 16 feet's eyes also flashed a ray of light. "It's not yet time, the old man is very wary of us." Chapter 716 Raid. Now rashly attacking him, if we are forcibly shut down like the last time, it will still be worth the loss. No, 17 enjoyed the speed and feeling of racing, and turned around to explain. "You must find an opportunity that he can't care about and kill him instantly. Then we are free." With a fierce light in his eyes, number 17 said coldly. "No," 18 nodded, and number 16, who had been silent, suddenly asked. "Now, where are we going?" "Looking for Sun Wukong. That old man planted a mission in our minds. Our obsession is to kill Sun Wukong. So, Sun Wukong must die." Said indifferently, number 17 stepped on the accelerator again, accelerating the speed and driving along the highway. Just as the three of them were heading towards Sun Wukong, a few figures appeared silently in a peaceful small mountain village. "Number 20, come on." In the quiet environment, this faint voice is very clear. Suddenly, a figure rushed towards the conspicuous house, and he was so fast that he could hardly see any shadows. In just a flash, he entered the house along the window. In the room, Sun Wukong, who was eating, suddenly changed his face and raised his right arm. Bang! When the wind came out, Sun Gohan and Chi-Chi showed shock in their eyes. A shadow of a strong man appeared in front of them, and quickly punched Sun Wukong. The latter evaded quickly and turned into a phantom. After 3 breaths, Sun Wukong punched the shadow that suddenly appeared, and directly knocked it out of the room. After rolling along the ground for nearly a dozen meters, he stopped just now, but this figure had a sneer on his face, but he was not afraid at all. Sun Wukong chased after him, looking at the person coming with a serious face. "Who are you?" "Whoever came to kill you, Sun Wukong, you are dead today." The eyes flashed, and Sun Wukong's eyes were a little dignified. There were no air fluctuations in this person, but the hatred was strong, and he almost used all his strength just now, but he failed to win the opponent. If someone else comes, I am afraid that he will definitely not be this guy's opponent. In the blink of an eye, the other party rushed up again. With the sound of wind, a punch swung towards Sun Wukong. After a bang, Sun Wukong blocked it and quickly counterattacked. But what surprised Sun Wukong was that this guy was able to match his normal state. The two quickly moved around the house, punched and kicked at high speed, and separated again after 10 breaths. "One doesn't work, you all go up, kill him for me." Dr. Gross stood in the dark and ordered fiercely. Swish! In the blink of an eye, 4 or 5 more figures appeared around Sun Wukong's body again, and in an instant, his eyes became solemn. Like this guy, they don't feel breath in their bodies. It is also a reason why the opponent can tie with him and cannot feel the flow of the opponent's chi and can only watch it with his eyes. "Gohan, take Goten and your mother out of here." With a solemn tone, Sun Wukong became serious. The few guys who appeared suddenly were not ordinary characters, and he actually felt the same pressure as Frieza. "Don't even think about leaving." One of the androids sneered and moved, trying to stop Gohan, but in the next moment, he was smashed and flew out by Sun Wukong. The battle started in an instant, and several people took turns attacking Sun Wukong, but what was surprising was that Sun Wukong, who was surrounded, reacted quickly and quickly avoided counterattacks. For a while, there was no sign of defeat. Seeing this scene, Sun Wukong decisively pulled Chi-Chi Fatian away from here. "Don't try to run away, boy." Just after flying 10 miles, a weird old man stood in front of him. It was Dr. Gro. None of Sun Wukong's descendants can be left behind. The cold tone made Sun Wuhan immediately dignified. Mom, you go with Wushan first, and I'll stop him. Gohan. Chi-Chi looked at Sun Gohan worriedly. Come on, I'll be fine. Sun Wufan said sternly. Kiki was stunned for a moment, tears appeared in her eyes, and finally she gritted her teeth and flew away from here. Sun Wushan in his arms is still a baby at the moment, looking at everything here curiously. Dr. Gero saw that the two wanted to leave, but he was about to block it with a flick of his body, but was punched back by Sun Gohan. Old man, your opponent is me. Sun Gohan said seriously. Alright, kill you first, they won't be able to escape. Dr. Gro was stunned for a moment, then grinned. Sun Wukong here, one person to deal with 5 or 6 people, making him seem very difficult, and constantly began to retreat. The joint attack of several people was airtight, causing large pits to appear on the ground. After a flick of his eyes, Sun Wukong found the gap and rushed into the jungle behind him, disappearing in a blink of an eye. After a few people looked at each other, they didn't make a sound to communicate, they all rushed in together. Buzz. Just after these 3 breaths, a terrifying breath rose into the sky. Bang bang bang. This chapter is not over, click on the next page to continue reading. A series of dull crashing sounds sounded, and several figures were knocked out, smoking all over their bodies, and they lost their mobility. Afterwards, Sun Wukong stepped out with sharp eyes, his whole body shone with a touch of gold. Have to transform into a Super Saiyan to defeat these guys, where did it come from? His eyes are a little dignified, and he has fought personally before. He knows how weird these people are. Not being able to feel the fluctuations of chi means that it is impossible to capture their dynamics, and can only rely on visual and tactile perception, which increases the difficulty of the battle by several levels. And Gohan and the others. Immediately afterwards, Sun Wukong thought about it, his eyes were sharper, he rose into the sky, and rushed towards the place where Sun Wufan was. After a while, he saw Sun Wufan, who was beaten with a bruised nose and a swollen face, and was powerless to fight back. Gohan. With a loud shout, Dr. Gero first heard it. After his face changed, he hurriedly rose into the sky and disappeared in front of Sun Wukong. Before he could catch up with Dr. Gero, Sun Wukong flew to Gohan. Gohan, are you okay? Hastily asked, Sun Wukong took out the fairy beans in his arms and fed it to Gohan. After eating the fairy beans, Sun Wufan regained his vitality and his face was full of shame. Dad, I'm useless, I can't beat him. You've worked so hard. Sun Wukong comforted, but his heart became more solemn. Gohan's combat power is definitely not weak on Earth, and these people are also Earth people by appearance. But who are they? Chapter 717 _ When did such a powerful person appear on Earth again? What's even more strange is that there is no fluctuation of chi in their bodies. After a little thought, Sun Wukong took Gohan and walked towards Bulma's house. About half an hour later, Sun Wukong's family gathered at Bulma's house. Wukong, why are you in the mood to play with me again? Seeing Sun Wukong's family, Bulma said while helping them prepare coffee. Vegeta stood at the door, folded his arms, and stared at Sun Wukong coldly. I have something to tell you. Sun Wukong patted the back of his head and said a little embarrassedly. What's the matter? Vegeta came over and asked coldly. I met a group of strange people, their strength is very strong, and there is no breath on their bodies. When it comes to business, Sun Wukong gets serious. Like, not human. Vegeta didn't care too much, smiled coldly, and asked again. Are you sure you're from Earth? It's right, people from the Earth, but I don't know why, the power in them is unbelievably powerful. Sun Wukong nodded. After a while, Kaylin, Tinjin Fan and others all came here. After listening to Sun Wukong again, everyone fell into silence. A group of powerful characters suddenly appeared, and it was obvious that the guy who started to deal with Sun Wukong was only the vanguard, and behind them, perhaps, there would be more powerful existences. What is their purpose? It's not clear yet, but it should be me. Sun Wukong smiled. Is that you? Everyone was stunned, some did not expect it. Well, when they appeared, they came for me. Sun Wukong said. No matter who they are, next time they appear, it's better to eliminate them. Vegeta said coldly, then turned around and went out. Hee, don't care about him, he just has this temper. You should live here recently. It's much more convenient for everyone to get together. Boomer said with a smile. Trunks in his arms kicked his legs and looked around curiously. This is Trunks, so cute. Kling grimaced, making Trunks laugh. As everyone gathered together, the tension at the beginning disappeared. In a relaxed atmosphere, the oppression of the arrival of the androids seemed to vanish. At this time, everyone had no idea how much disaster this group of androids would cause to the entire human race in the near future. Dr. Gero saw Sun Wukong and immediately turned his head and ran away. This group of post-made androids is still not enough, we still have to rely on those 3 guys. After hesitating for a moment, Dr. Gro was very helpless. Those 3 guys were rebellious, and maybe they were all planning to kill him, but he had to rely on their strength. 3 days later, Dr. Gro and 5 androids found number 17 and others who were walking slowly towards the place where Sun Wukong was. What? Dr. Gross came to see us? No, 17 raised his eyebrows and said softly with a cold smile on his face. No, 18 and number 16 clasped their hands and looked at them coldly. I know the location of Sun Wukong, now, let's kill them. Dr. Gross said. Sun Wukong. No, 17 narrowed his eyes, and then smiled. All right, it's not bad to solve him. Let's go then. It was very straightforward to agree to Dr. Gro, which surprised the 16th and the 18th again. Does my brother really want to kill Sun Wukong now? Although there is no fear of Sun Wukong, and I don't think that I will lose to the opponent, it is not my brother's style to listen to Dr. Gero like this. The 3 looked at each other, but said nothing. When Dr. Gro heard that the other party did not refuse, he was relieved and clenched his fist secretly. It's good now. With the 3 of them taking action, Sun Wukong is nothing at all. He knows the strength of the 3 people he created, and he has studied for a long time for Sun Wukong, and he has made a strong contrast to his strength. It is because of this that Dr. Gross is very reassured about the 3 people on the 17th. Next, a group of people flew into the air and rushed towards the place where Booma's house was. Along the way, number 17 behaved normally, and did not show any killing intent or dissatisfaction with Dr. Gross. This reassured Dr. Gro. At the same time, it also made number 18 a little weird. Soon, everyone had come to the sky above the city. That's it, Dr. Gross. No. 17 had a cold smile on the corner of his mouth and said lightly. Yes, Sun Wukong is in this city, it's already very close. Dr. Gero nodded. Then, let's do it, destroy the city, Sun Wukong will naturally appear, and save our effort. Number 17 said with a smile. Dr. Gro was stunned for a moment, but did not object, and ordered the android behind him to take action. In the blink of an eye, 3 people rushed out, and a powerful qigong wave gathered in their palms, and then, This chapter is not over, click on the next page to continue reading. With a bang, he rushed into the city. Boom! With an explosion, 3 mushroom clouds erupted in the city, and countless screams came out. At the same time, everyone in the Booma family was shocked, and their expressions changed drastically. Through the glass windows, they clearly saw the 3 large red flames rising into the sky, covering half of the sky. And just now, dozens of buildings that stood tall were instantly erased. This scene caused a bad premonition in their hearts immediately. What's going on? Kaylin stared blankly at the sky outside, shocked. I can't feel the slightest breath at all, they are here. Sun Wukong looked solemn, looked at the opposite side, and clenched his hands. Vegeta didn't say a word, and strode out, pushing the door open. Vegeta, what are you going to do? Boomer cried out. Kill a few mice. Dropping those words coldly, Vegeta turned around and disappeared, rushing into the sky. Sun Wukong was also startled, then laughed and followed closely. Followed by Kaylin, Sun Wufan, and Tianjin Fan also rose into the sky and flew towards the area where the explosion occurred. Shish! Several streamers flashed in the sky, and several people quickly came to the sky above the explosion, looking down. The wreckage of large buildings was scattered everywhere, the stumps were everywhere, the streets were blackened with blood, and at the same time, in other parts of the city, the citizens were completely panicked. The army began to advance here, and there were roars everywhere. Chapter 718 Are You Going to Die? Suddenly, a scorching light rushed over from one side, and Sun Wukong suddenly turned around and threw his fist out fiercely. Goku! Everyone screamed. That stream of light was actually a Qigong wave. Boom! The explosion drowned Sun Wukong's body in a blink of an eye, until after the 3 breaths, the flames dispersed, and Sun Wukong's figure was revealed. At this moment, he looked extremely angry. When he saw that the city below was destroyed like this, the anger in Sun Wukong's heart surged and swept through his whole body, causing him to tremble with anger. The Sun Wukong, revealed by the flames, has transformed into a Super Saiyan state. At this moment, nearly 10 figures suddenly appeared in the surrounding air, enclosing everyone in a ring in the center. Humph! With a cold snort, Vegeta put down her fists and prepared to fight. Is it these guys? Kaylin and the others became nervous, and they were all ready to fight. Attack, Dr. Gross. On one side, number 17 smiled at Dr. Gro. Dr. Gro didn't hesitate, waved his hand, and his androids immediately launched an attack on Sun Wukong and others. In the blink of an eye, a battle started in the air. Sun Wukong and others, one opponent and one opponent. Sun Wukong, who transformed into a Super Saiyan, was extremely powerful in combat, and with almost 3 breaths, he directly abolished one android, and then he moved on to the next one. Vegeta also turned into a Super Saiyan with a roar after fighting with the opponent for a few moves, and 2 moves abruptly broke the opponent into pieces. Scum! With a sneer, Vegeta rushed towards Dr. Gro. He could see that among this group of people, this old man should be the center, and those guys were protecting the old man faintly. Kaylin and others fought hard against their opponents, but they were barely able to support them. Sun Wukong quickly supported them, and the battle was expected to end within 10 seconds. It's you, old man. With a sneer, Vegeta appeared in front of Dr. Gro. The powerful momentum made Dr. Gro startled, but he was not the same at this time. He slammed with Vegeta and retreated 10 meters behind. As soon as number 18 moved, she was about to launch an attack, but number 17 grabbed her arm. She turned around and saw number 17 shaking his head with a smile on his face. In the blink of an eye, number 18 understood and smiled. In the blink of an eye, Dr. Gero fought Vegeta with more than a dozen moves, and was forced to defend with all his strength, completely unable to attack. Number 17, help me. With a loud roar, Dr. Grok knew that he couldn't hold on anymore and could only rely on these guys. Okay, Doctor, here I come. No, 17 Feet's voice was calm, without the slightest difference. His figure flashed and disappeared in the blink of an eye. His speed was so fast that Vegeta couldn't even see it clearly, and in just a flash, he was already in front of Vegeta, and with a wave of his right hand, he grabbed Vegeta's right wrist. The power like an iron hoop made Vegeta startled immediately. Immediately after, his figure was thrown out high. The powerful force threw him a full kilometer and directly smashed the building behind him. Phew, it's good to have you. Dr. Gro was saved, relieved, and let down his guard. Hee hee, it's my honor to serve the doctor. Number 17 smiled, with a strange light flashing in his eyes. Behind what Dr. Gru didn't see, number 18 was standing there with grimness. Suddenly, number 18 waved his knife. Dr. Grow wanted to say something, but the knife cut off his neck directly, causing him to shrink back the second half of his sentence. At the moment of death, Dr. Grow's brain responded quickly, and he actually took out the remote control and was about to press it down. But he is fast, and the number 17 is even faster. Just a hand move, the remote control was directly caught in the hands of number 17. Click. Even Dr. Grow's metal arm was crushed into pieces by number 17. Dr. Gross trembled all over, the light in his eyes was scattered, and he left this world with unwillingness and despair. Seeing that the remote control that controlled him was crushed into pieces, the light in the eyes of the three people on number 17 immediately lit up, and in the end, all three of them had smiles on their faces. "We are free. Release the crumbs of the remote," number 17 announced loudly. At this moment, Sun Wukong and others also solved their opponents. Vegeta flew up again, staring solemnly at number 17. In the moment just now, he didn't feel any imposing manner from the other party, but the powerful force left a deep impression on him. The three of them were intoxicated with their freedom, and they did not take action against Sun Wukong and others for a while, but they did not let their guard down. After a long while, number 17 fixed his gaze on the people in front of him. He glanced over one by one, and when he saw Sun Wukong, a cold smile appeared in his eyes. "Sun Wukong, our goal is to kill you. So, today you must die. As for the others, come here if you want to die, and if you don't want to die, get out now." His tone was very arrogant, but the cold aura was something no one could ignore. This chapter is not over. Click on the next page to continue reading. In the universe, on a small planet next to Zhuang Shengsheng, on the green lawn, the breeze is breezy and it is very comfortable. Several people sat cross-legged here, looking at the crystal ball in the center. In the crystal ball, everything that happened on the earth was playing. "Ching, can Sun Wukong and the others win?" Yi Chi said worriedly. "Elder, that number 17 is too arrogant. Sun Wukong is in a Super Saiyan state now, and even Frieza is not his opponent." Seiya said angrily. Yang Qing didn't say a word, just watched everything that happened here in silence, only he knew clearly that in the next 10 years, the earth was controlled by these two ruthless guys. Compared to the power of Super Saiyans, these two are more powerful than the earth without Sun Wukong. "Krillin, Gohan, you all leave, here, only me and Vegeta are left." Staring at the three people opposite, Sun Wukong suddenly said. His words surprised everyone, and Vegeta's eyes became more solemn. Although he is arrogant, he is not stupid. Sun Wukong's power at this time is higher than himself. Since he said this, it can only prove one point. This guy is not sure about these three enemies. Vegeta understood, and Krillin and the others naturally understood quickly. Without the slightest hesitation, Krillin took Gohan and the others, turned around and left. In the blink of an eye, only Monkey King, Vegeta, and number 17 were left in the field. "You seem to have sensed the gap between you and me. So, are you still here to die?" Chapter 719 Heart Disease. Sun Wukong didn't speak, he raised his momentum to the limit and stared at number 17 closely. After a breath, the figure of Sun Wukong disappeared into the air, and at the same time, Vegeta also went straight to the opposite number 18. Both of them launched the attack, without delay, simply and neatly. In the face of an unknown opponent, the first shot is to attack with all his strength. Bang bang bang. A series of muffled thunder-like sounds came from the air, causing the sky to tremble. Sun Wukong's attack is already very violent, but number 17 is casual and relaxed. He didn't seem to care about Sun Wukong in his heart at all, his body fluttered from side to side, and with a slight tremor of his hands, he was able to follow all of Sun Wukong's attacks. Vegeta, on the other side, also faced the same situation. After just fighting for 10 breaths, Vegeta was shocked to find that he could not hit the opponent. The indifferent and disdainful expression on number 18's face deeply pierced Vegeta's heart. "Ha! I'm going to kill you." With a loud roar, Vegeta's aura surged several times. However, in the next second, number 18 punched him neatly, hitting him in the stomach, hitting Vegeta's soaring momentum straight back, causing him to succumb to a meal, covering his stomach and bending over. Painful coughing up blood. Too weak. Indifferently spit out 3 words. Number 18 slashed with 1 foot. Vegeta was directly knocked to the ground, knocking the ground into a big pit. On the other side, Sun Wukong exerted his own strength to the limit, even surpassing the battle with Frieza. However, there is still no way to get number 17. Vegeta got up in pain, looked up at the sky, and finally realized that she was not the woman's opponent. Kakarot. His heart trembled, and where did these 3 people appear to be incredibly powerful? The battle between Sun Wukong and number 17 seems to be in a state of anxiety. As expected of Sun Wukong, your fighting ability is indeed much higher than others. Number 17 was also aware of Sun Wukong's inability to deal with it, and became dignified. During the battle, he constantly improved his strength, but every time, the opponent could follow. This is not to say that Sun Wukong's strength has grown in this short period of time, but the opponent's fighting consciousness, talent, and ability are quite outstanding, and can even deal with enemies far stronger than himself. He increased his strength again, but number 17 was surprised to find that the opponent's combat effectiveness also seemed to have improved. This scene surprised him. It's a bit difficult to kill him alone. Thinking like this, suddenly, number 17 noticed that the face of Sun Wukong on the opposite side suddenly changed, and sweat appeared on his forehead. He immediately threw his fist and hit Sun Wukong hard on the cheek. Bang! Sun Wukong was punched on the ground, and the dust was everywhere, and a deep pit was shaken. Kakarot. Vegeta stood up with an ugly face. He didn't expect that Sun Wukong would also be defeated. But the next moment, he noticed that Sun Wukong's pain was far heavier than what he should have suffered after taking that punch. What's the matter with you? After striding over, Vegeta asked loudly. Go away. Sun Wukong's face was painful, and 3 words were spit out from his mouth, which made Vegeta's heart tremble violently. Seeing what Sun Wukong looks like at the moment with his own eyes, Vegeta does not dare to resemble him at all. This is the invincible Sun Wukong, the invincible Kakarot, who will not give up in the face of any enemy, and can defeat Kakarot. Face was covered in sweat, his right hand was covering his mouth. At this moment, the pain caused Sun Wukong's combat power to drop to the lowest point, and his whole body was twitching slightly. This pain drowned his body like seawater, leaving him no time to think about anything. Heart disease. 3 words appeared in Vegeta's mind, which made him feel incredible. It is unimaginable that the mighty Sun Wukong was tortured like this by a heart attack, and he was still in such an important battle. Look for a chance and escape. Sun Wukong gritted his teeth and spoke again. Vegeta trembled. How could the pride of the Saiyan make him turn around and leave? Bulma, Gohan, they still depend on you. After spitting out these words with difficulty, Sun Wukong slowly stood up. His forehead was wet with cold sweat, and the pain made it difficult for him to even speak a word, but these were directly suppressed by his strong willpower. Vegeta's thoughts were complicated and his expression hesitated. He didn't want to leave here and leave the battlefield, but Sun Wukong's last words made him uncomfortable. He is no longer the single Vegeta, the Saiyan prince. Behind him, there is the family, and the son. Kakarot. Muttering 4 words, Vegeta's eyes showed admiration for the first time. It was the first time in his life that he had convinced a person, but the guy in front of him was the opponent he most recognized and admired. As soon as he turned around, Vegeta rose into the sky, increased his speed to the fastest, and left here. Vegeta, who was intent on running away, and the 3 of number 17 had nothing to do. Moreover, although the Sun Wukong below was in a wrong state, the death intent in his eyes was clearly seen by them. A Saiyan determined to die, and... This chapter is not over. Click on the next page to continue reading. And it's still a Super Saiyan. What kind of power can burst out? Number 17 and the others did not act rashly, they all looked at Sun Wukong solemnly. They clearly saw that although Sun Wukong below was trembling and shaking in pain for unknown reasons, the power in that body was constantly erupting and becoming stronger and stronger. Until I die, I must not let you succeed. It was as if his heart was being squeezed by someone's hand. At this moment, Sun Wukong could hardly even breathe, and his vision was about to blur. But at this moment of life and death, he felt that the long-standing confinement in his body disappeared. Fine lightning appeared around his body, flickering violently, his aura suddenly increased 100 times at this moment, his hair stood on end, and his body became much stronger. The powerful momentum caused the ground around him to vibrate and boil, dust flew into the sky, and buildings with a radius of 10,000 meters fell to the ground. Even the weather in the sky has changed, surrounded by golden colors, densely covered with dark clouds, and rumbling loudly. At this moment, Sun Wukong broke through and he entered the Super Saiyan 2 stage. Vegeta, who rushed out far away, felt the aura, and his face showed shock. Super Saiyan beyond Super Saiyan. Chapter 720 Dead. That terrifying aura, even from a distance, he could feel it. It was a terrifying aura, a power he couldn't imagine, and he didn't know if he could reach it, but Kakarot, at this moment, at the last moment of his life, reached this state. The Sun Wukong who successfully transformed, his eyes were cold and sharp, staring at the number 17 three people in the sky, with strong killing intent in his eyes. These three guys are obviously brutal and evil. If they are left behind, they still don't know what kind of disaster will be left to the earth. Destroy them before they die. Feeling his heart becoming weaker and weaker, Sun Wukong turned pale and made up his mind. His body has long been cultivated to the point of being invincible, and there is almost nothing that can destroy him, but his heart has nothing to do. He doesn't know how long he can hold on, but in the remaining time, he will use all his strength to destroy the enemy. This is leaving hope for my friends, and it is also helping the earth, the place where I grew up. Even if you lose your life, you won't hesitate. Ha! With a loud roar, the surrounding ground collapsed completely, and Sun Wukong's figure suddenly rose. In just a split second, he was in front of number 17. The terrifying speed made number 17 have yet to react. Then, it was a savage punch. This punch hit number 17's cheek with a terrifying force, causing number 17 to twist and spin and fly out, smashing a dozen buildings in a row, falling heavily into the ruins, and drawing hundreds of meters. Number 17 reacted just now with blood spurting out of his mouth. At this time, his eyes were full of horror. Why, how could he have such terrifying power? Number 18 also launched an attack at the same time, but when she punched Sun Wukong in the cheek, and found that the opponent's face was indifferent and calm, and he was not hurt in the slightest, she suddenly trembled and trembled in her heart. Bang! Sun Wukong punched out and hit number 18 directly in the stomach, causing the latter to bend down and fly towards the rear. After smashing 20 buildings in a row, number 18 also spewed blood and lost his combat effectiveness. Who transformed into Super Saiyan 2, is so strong that he is perverted. Number 16 looked at Sun Wukong who knocked his comrade off with 2 punches, and was slightly taken aback, but then, Sun Wukong's icy eyes looked at him. Without any hesitation, Sun Wukong waved his fist. However, at this moment, his heart shrank suddenly, and even greater pain rushed out from the depths of his body, extending to his whole body, causing him to keep shaking, and in the blink of an eye, he became even more powerless. This punch blew a gust of wind, but it stagnated on number 16's forehead, unable to move forward any longer. Huge pain, like death, strangled his neck. At this moment, the golden light on Sun Wukong's body suddenly dissipated, his hair returned to black, his eyes became slack and dim, and the powerful momentum dissipated instantly. Slowly, he fell from the sky and landed on the ground. In his eyes, the unwillingness, thirst, and longing seemed so clear. Sun Wukong, he is dead. The murmuring voice came from Seiya's mouth, containing inexplicable sadness. At this moment, Yang Qing was also silent. In this time and space, Wukong burst out with his unparalleled talent. In just a few short years, he achieved a power that others could not achieve for decades. However, after a short-lived, he died of a heart attack. He didn't lend a helping hand, because this was the end of this time and space. As a preparatory realm king, as an outsider, all of this prevented him from interfering without authorization. Moreover, his stage, in another time and space, in that past time and space, the son Wukong who escaped from the disease, his strength is the goal he really pursues. And all of this, if you want to see it, you must experience this scene. Yi Qi grabbed Yang Qing's hand tightly, tears in her eyes, because she knew clearly what it meant to lose a strong man like Sun Wukong on earth. Qing, I am so sad. Yang Qing hugged Yi Qi gently and gently embraced him. He didn't tell Yi Qi why he didn't intervene, but the latter was smart and didn't ask more. Vegeta, who was escaping quickly, suddenly trembled, and there was a glint in her eyes. The monstrous aura suddenly disappeared, and he knew very well what it meant. In his perception, he could no longer perceive the guy he hated and admired. Kakarot. After wiping her eyes, Vegeta drew a streamer and chased after Krillin and the others. On the ground, number 17 and number 18, watching the extremely powerful Sun Wukong suddenly lose his breath and fall to the ground, he couldn't help but be startled. Then, they flew up and quickly came over the body of Sun Wukong lying on the ground. What happened to him? With lingering fears, number 18 asked. Dead, he lost the breath of the living, and his heart stopped beating. After careful exploration, number 16 said softly. Dead. Number 17 and number 18 were surprised that such a powerful guy died inexplicably. He has a heart problem. This chapter is not over. Click on the next page to continue reading. 16th is the road again. Heart disease. Number 17 laughed out loud. It was ridiculous, such a powerful character died of a heart attack. It's okay to die, this world is ours, haha. In the blink of an eye, he laughed again. The eyes of number 18 also showed excitement. The most powerful guy died. So, what else do the two of them have to worry about? Then, his eyes became cold. Such a guy deserves no burial. Boom. A scorching qigong wave appeared in his hands, which became bigger in a blink of an eye. Number 18 on the side was excited when he saw it, and a qigong wave appeared in his hands. Buzz. Two air-breaking sounds sounded, and after a breath, an incomparably dazzling flame burst out from the place where Sun Wukong's body was located. Dao, who had always been invincible and unparalleled in talent, also disappeared under this explosion. This time, the world is ours, great. Number 18 said excitedly. Go find the escaped mice and kill them.